somewhere beyond the clash of universes, before warriors carved their names into the bones of time, there was a ripple, small, trembling, impossible. It began as a pulse within the void, a quiet quiver that even the Grand Priest felt beneath the calm of eternity. Destiny itself leaned closer, drawn by a heartbeat not yet born, a heartbeat that carried the echo of two Saiyan spirits, the relentless fire of Universe 7 and the untamed rebellion of Universe 6. When the child opened her eyes, space around her bent as if humbled by her presence. A storm of ki radiated from her tiny form, warping the room, brushing the edge of the divine. And in that moment, an angel whispered a name that would one day shake the quiet of fate. Raika, the Saiyan of fate. A being born not from chance, but from convergence, where two universes dared to unite through the unwavering will of Goku and the fierce, blazing spirit of Caulifla. A daughter forged from parallel instincts, infinite hunger for evolution, and the purity of hearts that refused to submit to any god or destiny. Legend would remember Raika not for her birth, but for what it demanded of the cosmos. A reinterpretation of strength. A confrontation with fate, a rebellion against the limits of life itself. Before we step into this alternate destiny, remember to join the journey, so our timelines may never fade into silence. Stories like this exist only as long as someone is willing to witness them. The night Raika was born, Mount Paou did not sleep. Clouds gathered in unnatural spirals, pulled inward as though the sky itself were inhaling. The wind carried no sound, no rustle of leaves or distant river, only a charged stillness, the kind that appears moments before lightning remembers how to strike. Inside Goku's home, the air vibrated softly, trembling with an energy that did not belong to Earth or any mortal realm. Caulifla exhaled sharply, fingers tightening around the edge of the bedding. She cursed under her breath, her usual fire undimmed by the pain, yet even she felt the strangeness pressing against the walls. She had crossed universes once before, but never had she sensed a shift like this. Her ki flickered uncontrollably, rising and falling with the rhythm of the tiny heartbeat inside her. Goku sat near her, hands steady, face unusually solemn. He had felt battles end worlds, felt gods tremble, felt fighters rise beyond miracles. None of it compared to the storm inside this room. "She's close," Goku whispered, not to Caulifla, but to the universe listening from outside. Caulifla gave him a half-smirk. "Obviously. Don't start freaking out on me, old man." But Goku wasn't hearing her. He was listening to something deeper, an echo resonating inside his bones, a resonance that belonged to a Saiyan child, yet not just Saiyan. The moment arrived with a sudden drop in temperature, the air turning sharp enough to taste. Raika entered the world with a pulse. A burst of ki erupted from her small body, expanding outward in a sphere of light so dense that it bowed the floorboards. The shockwave launched dust upward and ripped the shadows clean off the walls. Space warped gently, as though reality tilted its head in confusion. For an instant, Goku saw the room split, two overlapping images of the same moment, one from Universe 7 and one from Universe 6. Caulifla's outline blurred, flickering between her presence here and the faintest afterimage of her home universe. The tear closed just as quickly, snapping reality back together with a soft ring, like glass cooling.
Goku stared at the child in his arms. She was warm, impossibly warm, as if a tiny sun had learned how to breathe. Her hair was soft and black, windswept, though she had never felt wind. Her eyes, only half open, gleamed not with color but with motion, swirling gently like galaxies turning in miniature. And her ki did not feel like ki. It felt like a tide pulling at the edges of existence. "She's," Cauliflower managed between breaths, "she's strong already, isn't she?" Goku swallowed. "Yeah, but it's different. She's calm. Cauliflower blinked because calm was not a trait she passed down. Goku wasn't known for it either. Suddenly, the tremors in the air stilled, settling into a warm, rhythmic glow around the child, as if Raika had chosen to quiet the world herself. A soft knock tapped against dimensions rather than wood. Goku turned. So did Cauliflower, though she could not see what he saw. A tall silhouette of light forming slowly, its presence bending gravity, its wings of ki folding behind an expression too serene to belong to a mortal. Whis stepped into the room without walking. His staff glowed faintly, capturing reflections of futures not yet written. He looked at the child, not Goku, not Cauliflower, only the child, and for the first time in a long stretch of angelic eternity, something like hesitation touched his eyes. "So, it has happened," Whis murmured, voice softer than the air. "The multiverse has chosen to gamble." Cauliflower sat up straighter. "Hey, what's that supposed to mean?" Whis ignored the question politely. He lowered his face closer to Raika, observing her without ever intruding upon her ki. "She carries the resonance of two universes, a rare theme, and a dangerous one." Goku tensed. "Dangerous for who?" "For everything," Whis replied simply. Raika stirred and released a tiny breathless sound, not a cry, more like the flutter of wings opening for the first time. The light around her expanded, forming shapes, symbols, fragments of spiritual script. Angelic runes hovered in the air for a moment before dissolving into gold dust. Whis exhaled, expression unreadable. "The Saiyan of fate, born at last." Cauliflower's eyes widened, anger and fear colliding. "Don't call her that. She's Raika." "Yes," Whis said gently, "but names are the least of what she will carry." Outside, the world exhaled again, the mountains settling as if relieved the moment had passed. But nothing had passed. A seed had been planted, one that would either bloom or destroy the soil it touched. Goku held Raika close, shielding her tiny form with his ki. He didn't know what prophecy Whis was hinting at. He didn't know what destiny awaited his daughter, but he felt the truth burning quietly beneath everything. This child would shake the heavens, and he would protect her, even if the heavens shook back. The light in the room dimmed, the world steadied. Raika opened her eyes fully for the first time, and space bent toward her gaze. Raika's first gaze was not that of a newborn. Her eyes opened slowly, like two dawns learning how to rise, and for a moment the world seemed to forget its shape. Goku felt a weightlessness press against his chest, an instinct older than battle, older than instinct itself, something whispering that this child saw more than color. She saw currents of ki, the subtle glow of souls, the fine threads that stitched time together. When she looked at Goku, he felt seen not as a warrior or a father, but as a moment, fragile, fleeting, precious. Her hand rose shakily, touching the front of his gi, and the fabric shimmered as though ki passed through it like light through water. "She's reading you," Whis murmured. "Reading?" Caulifla snapped. "She's a baby who perceives essence rather than appearance," Whis replied. "A child who sees the shape of a person rather than the shadow they cast." Goku looked down at his daughter and whispered, "Hi, Raika." Her fingers curled, and the room warmed as if acknowledging him. Yet beneath that warmth lingered a flicker, an unpredictable ripple, the faintest distortion in the air behind her, like a transparent flame swaying in invisible wind. Goku felt it tug against his ki, testing it, examining it, almost curious. Raika wasn't suppressing her power, she simply didn't know she had any. Caulifla shifted closer, trying to hide the trembling in her arms. "Give her to me." Goku carefully placed Raika in her mother's hands. The distortions calmed. No, they changed, folding inward, becoming sharper and clearer. Caulifla's ki surged, not in battle instinct, but in something more primal.
Her aura wrapped around Raika like a flame, shielding her not from danger, but from prophecy itself. "Listen to me," Caulifla whispered to her daughter. "You're not some symbol. You're mine." Her voice cracked just enough for Goku to hear it, just enough for Whis to notice. Raika blinked, eyes swirling softly, and for the first time she made a sound. A small, curious hum. The air quivered, and in the vibrations, Whis heard something no angel wished to hear at the birth of a mortal child. A harmonic resonance, a frequency that existed beyond the 12 universes, a tone that matched only one phenomenon in the cosmos, the awakening of a timeline divergence point. Whis' staff flared. Images flickered across its polished surface, a branching timeline, cracks forming along its edges, splintered paths bending outward and inward as though fighting themselves. Angels were trained never to show fear, but Whis showed something close. "Goku," he said quietly, "her power is not rising, it is remembering." Goku frowned. "Remembering what?" Whis hesitated. "Everything she could become." Caulifla's glare turned sharp. "If you're trying to imply my daughter is a threat—" But she didn't finish, because Raika suddenly turned toward the window, and the night outside broke into light. A beam of ki, not destructive, not chaotic, but impossibly pure, shot upward from the earth in the distance. It pierced clouds, painting the sky white for a heartbeat. Goku felt its pressure, Caulifla felt its weight, Whis felt its meaning. Raika had responded to something far away, something resonating with her own ki. Goku bolted to his feet, heart pounding. What was that? "Your daughter is unable to differentiate between inside and outside yet." Her ki reached toward another signature. "A signature?" Caulifla growled. "Where?" Whis tilted his staff, and the room filled with a ghostly map of the planet. One point glowed. Far from Mount Paou, across oceans, deep within a mountain valley. A pulse, red, unstable, ancient. Goku's eyes widened. That's not human." "No," Whis agreed. "It is something far older."
Raika's hum returned, louder this time. The floor cracked beneath Caulifla's heel as she stood protectively, cradling her daughter close against her chest. "You're not taking her anywhere," she said. Whis' expression softened. "I have no intention to, but understand this, Caulifla. Raika did not choose this destiny. Fate chose her, and fate is not patient." Before Caulifla could speak again, the light outside abruptly vanished. The world fell silent. Not natural silence, but the silence left behind when something disappears without dying. Whis turned slowly toward the window. "It's gone." "What is?" Goku asked. "The energy Raika responded to." Whis lowered his staff, eyes narrowing. "It vanished entirely. Not suppressed, not hidden." "Erased," Goku finished. "No," Whis shook his head. "Not erased. Unwritten." Caulifla felt her blood run cold. "What does that mean?" Whis gazed at Raika, and his voice lowered into something reverent and afraid. "It means the future just changed itself to make room for her." The wind outside rose suddenly, slamming against the walls. Raika's aura flickered, shimmering between universes for a split second, and for that single breath of time, Goku saw two versions of his daughter, one with a calm, radiant presence, the other burning with fearsome, destructive power. Two possibilities, two destinies, one child. Raika blinked, and the visions vanished. But the world did not settle. It waited. The days that followed did not feel like days. They felt like echoes, vibrations stretching outward from the moment Raika first opened her eyes. Time continued its quiet march. The sun rose, the rivers flowed, and the animals of Mount Paou went about their simple existence. But beneath that rhythm, there was a new thrum, a subtle second heartbeat woven into the world. Raika. To any stranger, she would have seemed like an ordinary infant. She slept, she woke, she stared with heavy-lidded curiosity at the shapes around her. She reached for Goku's hair and tugged it with surprisingly precise little fingers. She curled up against Caulifla's chest, soothed by the steady pulse of her mother's ki. In those small gestures, she was nothing more than a child, breathing and dreaming. But every time she exhaled, the air around her shimmered. When she slept, tiny motes of light drifted upward from her skin like dust illuminated by a hidden sun. They would swirl lazily above her, sketching faint constellations before fading back into nothingness. Once, Goku watched them form something nearly recognizable, a symbol he had seen in the hyperbolic time chamber, an ancient glyph for limit or perhaps beyond. He wasn't sure. He only knew that watching Raika sleep felt less like looking at a baby and more like witnessing the universe think. Caulifla tried to act unimpressed. So she glows, big deal. But when she thought no one was watching, her eyes would soften, tracing every line of Raika's tiny face, every twitch, every shift in her aura. She had never planned to be a mother. She had planned to be strong, to fight, to chase impossible walls just to break them. Now, there was someone who might surpass every wall she had ever known, and it terrified her in ways battles never did. One afternoon, Goku carried Raika outside against the soft breeze that rolled over the hill. The sky was clear, the kind of endless blue that stretched towards invisible gods. Birds dipped low, curious but not afraid. Raika's gaze followed them, tracking their movement with unnerving focus.
You like that? Goku smiled, lifting her a little higher so she could see the sky. That's the open world up there. You're gonna fly in it someday. Raika reached up, fingers opening and closing as if trying to grasp the horizon. Goku felt her ki stir. Just a flicker. A thread of power rose from her palm, barely visible like steam rising off hot stone. It curled upward, stretching, tasting the sky. The birds froze mid-flight. For one impossible instant, everything in the air stopped. The leaves, the clouds, even the drifting pollen. Time didn't break, but it held its breath. Goku felt his own heart skip, as though the world had momentarily forgotten how to beat. Then Raika giggled. The tension shattered. The birds resumed their flight. The breeze resumed its song. "What was that?" Goku whispered. On a distant planet, in a palace hovering between destruction and silence, a purple cat opened both eyes at once. Beerus sat upright on his throne, tail flicking slowly behind him. His golden gaze sharpened, carving through the void between realities. The cup of instant noodles at his side tipped, the soup trembling as though bowing to a higher pressure. "What did you feel just now?" he asked without looking back. Whis stood near him, hands folded neatly around his staff, expression as composed as ever. Nothing substantial, a fluctuation, a momentary distortion on the boundary between mortal ki and the fabric of time. Beerus narrowed his eyes. "That's not nothing. It brushed against my senses. I almost thought someone was challenging me in my sleep. Rest assured, he lover name, no one is foolish enough to do that." Beerus frowned. "Where did it come from?" Whis paused. "Earth." Silence stretched. Then Beerus laughed softly. "Of course it did. That planet is an irritation woven into destiny." His laughter faded as quickly as it came. He leaned back slightly, mind ticking through possibilities, half remembering the faint promise he'd once made about a Saiyan, about a rival, about the thrill of a battle that could actually mean something. "But this wasn't your precious Goku. His ki feels like a stubborn flame. This was different." Whis' eyes drifted to the side, remembering the swirling gaze of a newborn girl, the way reality bent toward her without her asking. "Very different," he agreed. "Explain." Whis chose his words carefully. "Imagine, Lord Beerus, if a single drop of water could feel the current of an ocean it has not yet joined. That drop does not create the sea, nor command it, but it vibrates with its rhythm, long before it reaches the tide. Beerus stared at him in silence. So you're saying there's a drop like that on Earth? Not exactly, Whis said. I am saying there is something in motion, and it is tied to a child who, as of now, has done nothing but exist. Beerus scoffed. Children don't concern me. No, Whis replied softly, but the futures they carry might. Back on Mount Paou, Goku gently lowered Raika back into Caulifla's arms. He tried to sound light. She made everything stop for a second. Caulifla snorted. So do I when I walk into a room. I'm serious, Goku insisted. It felt like time was watching her, like it forgot what it was supposed to do.
Caulifla looked down at her daughter. Raika's eyelids drooped, her ki folding into itself, peaceful once more. Then we teach her. We make sure she knows her strength belongs to her, not to time, not to angels, not to any god. Goku smiled faintly. You sound like Vegeta. She grimaced. Don't insult me. But his words lingered. Somewhere deep inside her, Caulifla understood what she was really saying. Power without direction becomes someone else's weapon. That night, as the stars gathered above, Raika lay between them, one small hand resting against each of her parents, Goku's palm rough and warm, Caulifla's touch steady and strong. Raika's aura pulsed gently, synchronizing with their breath. Far beyond the stars, in halls where mortals were never meant to walk, the grand priest opened his eyes and turned his gaze toward Universe 7. An angel had spoken a title, a child had bent light, and a future, once stable, had quietly come undone. Night settled heavily across Mount Paou, but its darkness did not feel empty. It felt watchful, as though the stars had gathered at the mountain's edge, listening to the breaths inside Goku's home. A faint breeze drifted through the window, carrying the scent of pine and mist, brushing lightly against Raika's sleeping form. She didn't stir. Instead, each rise and fall of her tiny chest released a soft pulse of ki, barely visible, yet dense enough to make the shadows ripple. Caulifla lay beside her, eyes wide open, though exhaustion tugged at every muscle. She was not used to stillness. Stillness meant vulnerability, weakness. Back in Universe 6, nights were loud. Cities, brawls, laughter, arguments. Here, there was only this quiet, broken now and then by Goku's soft snoring from the other side of the room. But Caulifla wasn't listening to Goku. She was listening to Raika. The pulses weren't random. They followed a rhythm, a pattern. Each vibration carried a tiny variation, like someone speaking a language that no one had yet learned to understand. Hey, you're not talking in your sleep, are you? Raika's aura swirled faintly, a lazy spiral of gold and pale violet, the color of dawn crossing foreign skies. Caulifla felt her throat tighten. She had seen many infants in her life, but never one whose ki pulsed with meaning. Saiyan babies cried, bit, clawed, and broke furniture by accident. They did not shape the air like sculptors shaping stone. She brushed a strand of hair from Raika's forehead. You don't owe the universe anything, not a damn thing. Outside, the wind changed direction. A tall shadow appeared on the horizon. At first, Caulifla thought it was a trick of moonlight, just the silhouette of a tree swaying. But then the shape moved with purpose, walking slowly across the clearing, not hiding, not threatening, just approaching. Caulifla's instincts roared awake. She shot up, aura flashing,
shaking the floorboards. "Who's there?" Goku woke instantly, already in a fighting stance before consciousness fully caught up. He narrowed his eyes toward the window. A figure emerged from the darkness. Tall, slender, cloaked in something that looked like woven night sky. A halo of faint blue motes drifted around their shoulders like fragments of starlight caught in orbit. Not an angel. Not a god. Not a mortal. Something in between.
The figure stopped at the doorway, but did not cross it. When they spoke, their voice resonated like a chord plucked on strings made of light. "I have come for the child." Cauliflower's aura surged violently. "Over my dead body." The figure tilted their head. "A possibility, if poorly chosen." Goku stepped forward. "Who are you?" "A witness. One of many who felt the shock of her birth. One of few who feared what it meant." Whis had not appeared. Beerus had not arrived. The Kais had not spoken. This being was none of them. Its presence felt ancient yet incomplete, as though it had been formed from leftovers of creation, things discarded between universes, given shape by need. "Step back from my family," Goku warned, voice dipping into an unfamiliar coldness. The figure did not budge. Instead, their face, pale, sculpted, expressionless, shifted slightly as their gaze passed over Reicha. The motes around their body flickered, fluttering toward the window like nervous birds. "So small," the being murmured. "And yet she bends what she cannot name. Time enwraps her. Futures coil beneath her breath." Cauliflower's ki flared so hot the air trembled. "Get away from her." The being slowly raised a hand, not to attack, but to reveal. Light pooled in her palm, forming a tiny sphere. Inside it, images rotated like memories caught in a snow globe. Goku squinted. His breath hitched. He saw Raika, older, stronger, floating above a cratered world, eyes luminescent, hair whipping wildly in an energy storm. Her aura stretched outward like wings of living fire. Whole cities were dust beneath her feet, stars flickered behind her like dying candles. Cauliflower's pulse spiked. "That's a lie." "It is one future," the being responded calmly. "One she has already touched. One written into the space she cracked open when she breathed her first breath." Cauliflower stepped closer, shaking with fury. "Take your future and shove it." Goku grabbed her arm quickly. "Cauliflower, wait." "No," she snapped. "No more gods telling us who we are, who she is. I'm done with that." Her voice shook, not with weakness, but with terror. The being looked at her, not impressed, not intimidated, simply curious. "You misunderstand. I have not come to dictate her destiny." "Then why show us that?" Goku asked quietly. The being lowered their hand. The sphere dissolved into dust. "To warn you." The wind outside stopped. Every leaf froze in midair. Time clenched. She is an intersection, a convergence point. If she remains unguarded, she will be found. Goku felt something cold crawl up his spine. By who? The being's voice softened, as if afraid of the answer itself. By the ones who existed before universes had numbers. Goku's face tightened. Cauliflower's breath hitched. Raika stirred in her sleep.
and the being took one step backward, fading slowly into the dark. Protect her, not from her fate, but from those who seek to shape it. The being vanished, the wind returned, the night resumed.
Caulifla sank to her knees, shaking. Goku knelt beside her, pulling her close. Raika slept peacefully, unaware of the tremor she had sent across existence. But far away, in a place where sons were born and abandoned like broken toys, something ancient opened an eye, and it began to remember her name. Dawn approached slowly, as though reluctant to disturb the fragile stillness left behind by the visitor in the night. Pale ribbons of light crept across the sky, brushing the tops of the trees, sliding over the mountain ridge, reaching toward Goku's home with cautious hands. It was morning, ordinary, gentle, familiar, yet nothing felt ordinary anymore. Raika awoke before either parent. Her eyes opened wide, reflecting the faint hues of dawn, turning them into swirling pastels inside irises far too ancient for someone who had not yet learned to crawl. She made no sound. She simply watched the light stretch across the ceiling, as if recognizing it, as if greeting an old friend. Goku felt her ki rise before he heard her stir. He sat up immediately, instincts sharp, not with fear, but with a strange dread, like he was late to a moment that had not yet happened. "Morning," he whispered, forcing a smile. Raika blinked in response, and the air warmed slightly around her, rippling like sunlight against water. Caulifla woke more slowly, groaning, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. "Tell me that shadow-walking creep was a nightmare," she muttered. Goku didn't answer, because outside, the world was no longer entirely the same. A faint distortion shimmered across the tree line, subtle at first, like heat rising off sand. Then it thickened, bending the shape of the forest, softening its edges as though the air had turned to liquid. Birds fought against invisible currents, their wings slowed by an unseen drag. Goku felt a chill run across his skin. Caulifla felt her heart spike. Raika smiled. The distortion expanded, widening with a low hum, like the sound of something enormous inhaling. Goku stepped in front of his family instinctively, aura rising, dust spiraling off the floor. Caulifla, still exhausted but alert, moved beside him, her stance wide, her energy fierce and undiluted. But the distortion was not coming toward them. It was radiating from Raika. "Goku," Caulifla whispered, "tell me she's not doing that." Goku swallowed. "She might be stretching her ki." "That's not stretching," Caulifla snapped. What even is that?" Whis had once described Ultra Instinct as the body remembering what the mind forgets. But this was something more primal, something older, as if Raika was not remembering, but recognizing the world, testing its texture, pushing against its boundaries like a child pressing fingers into soft clay. The distortion grew, cracking the air with faint hairline fractures. The house creaked under the pressure. Goku clenched his fists. "Raika, hey, sweetheart, let's slow down, okay?" Raika giggled. The cracks widened. A low rumble shook the mountain. And then, Raika sneezed. The entire distortion collapsed like a popped bubble, snapping back into normal space with a shockwave that rattled every leaf on the mountain. Goku's hair puffed up wildly. Caulifla nearly fell over. The house groaned like it had just survived an earthquake. Raika blinked once, satisfied, and reached for her mother's hair. Caulifla stared at her daughter, jaw dropped. Did she just sneeze a dimensional rupture?" Goku laughed shakily. "Looks like it.
Caulifla turned to him, eyes wide with a fury that barely concealed panic. "Goku, we can't raise a kid who cracks reality every time she sneezes." Goku scratched the back of his head. "Hey, I've blown up planets by accident. Guess it runs in the family." "Not helping." Raika reached out again, fingers grazing Caulifla's cheek. The moment her tiny touch connected, Caulifla's anger faded. Not because the danger was gone, but because she saw something in Raika's eyes that stole her breath. A reflection. Not of power, not of destruction, but of trust. And for the first time, the fear loosened its grip around Caulifla's heart. "We'll figure it out," she whispered. "Together." Goku nodded. "We always do." Raika's aura flickered warmly. But deep beneath the mountain, unnoticed, something stirred. A faint tremor, a pulse, the echo of Raika's distortion trickling downward, slipping into places no mortal had set foot in thousands of years. In caverns carved by forgotten gods, long before Saiyans existed, an ancient symbol etched into ancient stone began to glow. Lines of energy awakened, crawling across the surface like roots of light. A circle sunk into itself, a door unlocked, and in the deepest dark, something exhaled for the first time in an age. Far above, Raika suddenly stiffened. Her eyes widened. She turned her head sharply toward the earth. Not the sky, not the horizon, but down, as though hearing something beneath the soil call her by name. Goku felt her ki lurch. Caulifla grabbed her instinctively. The sunlight dimmed. The ground vibrated in a low, ancient rhythm. And Raika whispered her first true sound. A soft, breathy syllable that neither parent recognized. But the earth did. It responded. Because it knew the name of what had awakened. The earth did not shake violently. It trembled softly, almost politely, like something ancient testing whether the world still remembered its existence. Dust drifted down from the ceiling. A cup rolled off the table and hit the floor without breaking. Birds scattered in a sudden wave, cutting frantic shapes across the morning sky. But Raika did not flinch. Her tiny fingers curled in Caulifla's shirt. Her eyes remained locked downward, unblinking, the swirling galaxies inside them tightening, as if focusing on a point miles beneath the surface of Mount Paou. Goku scanned the area with his senses. Nothing obvious, no key spike, no threat, just a vibration on the edge of perception, too ancient, too deep to feel like energy, yet undeniably alive. Caulifla held Raika close. "What did she say? Did you hear it?" Goku nodded slowly, though the answer unsettled him. "Yeah, I heard it, but I didn't understand it." Raika's first word was not a word at all. It was a resonance, a syllable that felt like history, like memory, like something calling from beneath the planet's skin. Raika whispered it again. A breath, a tone, soft but heavy. The vibration in the ground matched her perfectly, echoing her like a buried heartbeat. Caulifla's jaw tightened. "Okay, no, absolutely not. She is not talking to the dirt."
Goku didn't smile this time. He felt a shift, an unsettling tug like gravity had learned a new direction. "It's not the dirt." He crouched, placing one hand on the floorboards. A faint pulse pushed against his palm. Slow, deliberate, intelligent. Something was answering Raika. Caulifla felt a shiver run down her spine. "Tell me this isn't some kind of training chamber underneath the mountain?" Goku shook his head. "No, I've lived here my whole life. Whatever that is, it wasn't awake before." Raika reached both hands downward now, a soft whimper caught in her throat. Not distress, not pain, but recognition, as if hearing a lullaby she had forgotten long before she was born. Then, a sound rose through the ground. Not a roar, not a voice. A hum. A deep, resonant hum that rippled through every grain of soil and stone. The cabinets rattled, the floorboards flexed. Even the sunlight seemed to vibrate, flickering as if brushed by invisible waves.
Goku grabbed Caulifla. Get ready. For what? I don't know. The hum deepened. The air thickened. A faint sparkle drifted upward through the cracks in the wooden floor. Small motes of golden dust, glowing faintly, rising in spirals as if pulled by Raika's breath. Caulifla stepped back instinctively. Goku, why is the ground glowing? Goku didn't respond. He was staring at Raika. She wasn't glowing anymore. She was resonating. Her aura pulsed in perfect sync with the hum from below, each beat growing slightly stronger, slightly brighter. The golden motes lifted higher, gathering around her like fireflies. Then, to Caulifla's horror, the motes began forming shapes, ancient circular symbols, spiraling patterns, interlocking rings. They hovered in the air, slowly rotating around Raika's tiny form. Goku's eyes widened. I've seen symbols like that. Somewhere. Caulifla grabbed him. Where? The gods' ruins. Back when Whis took me to train. He swallowed. These look older. Raika raised her arms. The symbols brightened. The hum intensified, shaking the windows. Goku's aura burst to life. Caulifla, step back. But stepping back wasn't enough. The floor suddenly bulged upward, once, twice, like something enormous pushing from below. Caulifla shielded Raika, teeth clenched. Goku wrapped them both in his ki, forming a protective shell as splinters erupted around them. With a deafening crack, a section of the floor collapsed inward. A column of golden light burst upward, swirling like a tornado made of starlight, the energy more powerful than gods or universes. Raika stopped glowing. She answered. Her tiny voice rose, not in fear, but in harmony. The light bent toward her like a flower turning toward the sun. Goku's breath caught. Caulifla froze. The energy was immense, far beyond what Raika should have been able to withstand. Yet she wasn't breaking. She wasn't struggling. She was calling. And something ancient was calling back. From the depths of the earth, through layers of stone and forgotten ruins, a shape began to rise. Slowly, silently, as if brushing dust off memories that had slept for millennia. A tall, carved monolith emerged from the crack, covered with symbols, marked by time, humming with the power that felt familiar. Too familiar. Goku's eyes widened. Caulifla's heart nearly stopped, because etched into the center of the monolith was a symbol identical to the one Whis carried on his angelic staff, and Raika reached toward it with open hands. The monolith responded. A blinding surge of light erupted, engulfing the room, flooding their senses, and whispering a single word into the minds of both parents. Awakening. The light swallowed everything. For a moment, there was no world, no ceiling, no floor, no sky. Only light, vast and weightless, spilling into every corner of existence, like a memory the universe had buried too deeply and could no longer contain. Goku felt his body lifted, suspended in warmth and pressure, as if submerged in sunlight made liquid. Caulifla clutched Raika tightly against her chest, though she couldn't feel her own arms. Her senses burned white. But Raika floated effortlessly, her small frame at the center of the eruption, untouched by the intensity swirling around her. The golden radiance curled toward her like affectionate hands, wrapping her aura in spiraling ribbons. Her hair lifted in the current. Her eyes shone with hues no mortal painter could name. The monolith's light thickened, condensing into shapes, fragments of architecture, symbols, and murals that flickered like distant memories. They moved too quickly to follow, yet too familiar to ignore. Goku recognized flashes of angelic robes, rings of universes, the geometry of divine halls. But beneath it all pulsed an emotion, grief, longing, an ancient sorrow that had slept inside the earth for millennia. Then, the light thinned suddenly, pulling itself upward into a single narrow column that reached for Raika alone. It wrapped around her like a cradle. Goku tried to surge forward, but his limbs still would not obey. "Raika!" And voice answered him. Not Raika's, not Whis', not anything he knew. "Do not fear." The words resonated inside his mind, not spoken, but inscribed. Caulifla felt them too. Her breath hitched as the golden column began lifting Raika higher, slowly, delicately, as if presenting her to something unseen. "Put her down!" Caulifla roared, her aura flaring hard enough to crack the air. But the light did not react. It simply held Raika in its center, rotating her slowly as glowing patterns spiraled across her skin. Rings, runes, threads of energy that looked like starlight braided into existence. Goku fought his paralysis, forcing his aura outward, cracking the last of the invisible hold. He stumbled forward on shaking legs. "Let her go! She's just a baby!" The monolith hummed in response. Softly, resonantly. A lullaby without melody. From the swirling light surrounding Raika, a shape began to emerge. First a silhouette, then finer detail. A figure stood behind her, tall and luminous, its outline shifting like a reflection on rippling water. Caulifla's blood ran cold. Whis? No, not Whis. Not an angel. This being wore no halo. Its robes were not divine white or celestial blue. Instead, energy wove through its form like veins of gold embedded in crystal. Its face was obscured, blurred, almost incomplete, as though it had forgotten how to fully take shape. It extended a hand toward Raika, palm open, almost reverent. Goku's heart hammered. "Stay away from her!" The figure paused. Then it spoke, not in words, but in a chorus of overlapping voices, each older than the one before.
She is the one who hears the buried. Raika reached toward the being without fear. The golden symbols curled around her arms, embedding faintly into her skin for only an instant before fading. The being lowered its head slightly, as though acknowledging her, recognizing her. Caulifla clenched her fists. "I don't care who or what you are. She's ours. You don't have the right." The being turned toward her. A wave of emotion, not ki, not killing intent, but pure feeling, washed over Caulifla with the force of a tidal surge. Loss, loneliness, a yearning older than the universes themselves. Caulifla staggered back, breath stolen. Goku caught her. "What happened?" She shook her head slowly, voice trembling. It showed me something, not a vision, a feeling." The being's voice flowed through them again. "We are remnants, forgotten, erased by those who wished no competition to the divine." The monolith pulsed in agreement. A shard of realization cut through Goku's mind like lightning. "You're not a god. You're from before the gods." The being did not deny it. "We slumbered. We faded. But she awakens what remembers her name." Raika cooed softly. The golden column dimmed, lowering her back into Caulifla's arms with delicate, almost affectionate care. The moment Raika touched her mother's chest, the light retracted into the monolith like a tide retreating from shore. The being stepped back into the collapsing glow. "Guard her, for those who erased us will feel her awakening." Goku's breath froze. Who? Who erased you?" The being's voice softened, almost grateful. "The ones who sit above destruction. The ones who shape fate as law. The ones who fear what they cannot predict." Goku felt the truth before he spoke it. The angels! The being began to fade, its shape dissolving into drifting motes of ancient memory. Beware, for she is not destiny, she is choice. And then it vanished. The monolith darkened, the light died, silence returned. Goku and Caulifla stood there trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of what they had witnessed. Reicha yawned sleepily against Caulifla's chest, completely unfazed. And beneath them, deep in the cracks of the earth, unseen symbols glowed faintly before dimming back into the stone, waiting for the next resonance. The world above did not collapse, it did not scream, it simply watched, quietly, nervously, as a legend took its first breath of morning air. Reicha's first year unfolded like a quiet storm, slow, steady, yet charged with a promise the world was not ready to receive. She grew swiftly, though not in the way Saiyan infants typically did. Her body remained small, delicate, her laughter soft, her curiosity endless, but her ki matured faster than her bones. It pulsed around her like a second heart, shaping the air wherever she crawled, bending stray gusts of wind toward her fingertips. Goku noticed it first. Whenever Reicha lost balance while learning to stand, the air beneath her would ripple and lift her gently upright, as though the world itself refused to let her fall. Caulifla found it terrifying. Goku found it incredible. Reicha found it funny. Each near fall a game with gravity itself. But it wasn't the strange physics that worried Goku. It was her eyes.
They didn't see objects, they saw movement, paths, flows, intentions. Birds in the sky left fading trails behind them. Caulifla's punches, even when thrown lightly to amuse the child, appeared to Reicha as bright streaks of potential. When Goku paced around the house thinking, his path glowed faintly to her, a ribbon of motion she reached for with fascination. She was seeing the world not as it was, but as it was about to be. The first sparks of pre-instinct. One afternoon, while Caulifla chopped vegetables and Goku carried firewood inside, Reicha sat at the center of the room, staring at the shadows on the floor. Suddenly she stood, wobbly but determined, and took a step. Then another. Then she stumbled forward. Caulifla moved instantly, but Reicha didn't hit the ground. Her tiny foot shifted just slightly, far too fast for a child still learning, and she pivoted her weight perfectly, landing on both feet with effortless precision. Goku dropped the firewood. She just dodged falling. Caulifla blinked. Dodged? What does that even mean? Reicha giggled, clapping. Goku approached slowly, eyes wide. That was an instinct, not normal instinct. Caulifla's crossed her arms, forcing a scowl to hide her fear. She's just talented, like her mom. No, Goku said, voice soft. That was like ultra instinct movement. Not the full form, but the spark, like her body reacted before she knew how. Caulifla's expression hardened. She's a baby. Babies don't unlock God techniques. She didn't unlock anything, Goku replied. But she recognized balance. She felt where she shouldn't fall before she fell. Reicha toddled toward him, arms raised, demanding to be picked up. Goku lifted her gently, but even then he noted the way she placed her hands, precisely, intuitively, effortlessly shifting her center of gravity so she didn't tug too hard on him. She wasn't thinking about it. Her body simply knew. That night, Goku couldn't sleep. He sat outside the house, legs crossed, watching the moonlight settle on the lake. He remembered the first time Whis demonstrated ultra instinct, how the air felt like it wanted to follow him, how every molecule seemed aware of every step he made. Goku had fought for that level of awareness, trained until his bones ached, reached death's edge again and again. And yet, Reicha, barely able to form words, already moved with an echo of it. He didn't know if he should be proud or afraid. Caulifla joined him, arms wrapped around herself against the cold. She was glowing again in her sleep. Glowing how? Goku asked. The way she does when she hears something. Not the earth this time. Something else. Something far.
Goku stared at the lake. She's sensing things we can't. Caulifla didn't answer. She didn't want to admit it out loud. Goku breathed deeply. Caulifla, she's showing signs of instinct. Real instinct, the kind angels use. Caulifla snapped. Don't say that. Her voice cracked like a whip. She's not some winged puppet. She's ours. Goku reached over, gently brushing her hand. I know, and that's why we have to protect her. Not from the world, but from herself. From what she might become if she can't control it. Caulifla's throat tightened. You think she's dangerous? I think she's powerful, Goku said softly. And power without guidance is unpredictable. Caulifla looked away, jaw trembling. I just want her to be free. She will be, Goku nodded. But even freedom needs direction.
Inside the house, Raika began to cry. Not loudly, not in distress, but in a soft, echoing whimper that vibrated the walls. Caulifla's face paled. That's not normal crying. They rushed inside. Raika sat upright in her blankets, trembling, eyes wide with confusion. Energy leaked off her small frame in wisps of silver light, spiraling upward like smoke. The air thickened. The shadows trembled. Goku stepped forward, slow and calm, letting his ki wrap around her like a warm blanket. It's okay, we're here. But Raika wasn't looking at Goku. She was staring behind him. At nothing. At something. Her pupils shrank. Her aura thinned into razor-sharp lines. And then, she moved. Not fast, not violently, but perfectly. Her body shifted sideways, avoiding a force that wasn't there, yet felt real enough for the floorboards to creak in response. Caulifla froze. Goku, she dodged something. Goku's stomach dropped. Yeah. Raika wasn't just sensing motion, she was reacting to something from a future that hadn't happened. The sparks of the forbidden instinct flickered in her eyes, and somewhere far away, an angel stirred, its attention drawn sharply to a child who should not yet be capable of such things. The floor's faint groan lingered longer than any sound should. It hung in the air like the afterimage of a strike that never landed, like a ghost of impact. Goku felt his skin prickle. Caulifla's heart hammered against her ribs, too fast, too loud. And Raika sat very still, her small chest rising and falling quickly, as if she had just dodged a blow from an invisible opponent. But there was no enemy, no fist, no ki blast, only the echo of something that had been possible, and then wasn't. Raika, Goku murmured, kneeling slowly. What did you feel? She turned toward him, eyes still wet with tears, but her gaze wasn't that of a frightened child. It was searching, confused, as though her body already knew something her mind lagged behind. Her little hand lifted and hovered in the air between them, fingers trembling. Then she shifted it gently to the side, tracing a path in the empty space that Goku's muscles tensed. She was drawing the arc of an attack. Not from memory, from instinct. Caulifla's voice broke through the silence, sharp and brittle. That's enough. She stepped forward, scooping Raika into her arms, holding her tight as though she could shield her from the intangible forces tugging at her fate. Raika pressed her face into Caulifla's shoulder, shivering. The silver wisps of light dimmed but did not vanish. Goku stood, fists clenching and unclenching, fighting the urge to pace. She reacted to something that wasn't there, like her body saw it coming. That doesn't mean it's some divine technique, Caulifla snapped, though her tone held more plea than certainty. Goku breathed slowly. I've felt this before. Caulifla glared. In your fancy angel training? In battle, Goku said quietly. Against Jiren, against Moro, against people so strong that instincts had to answer before thought did. His jaw tightened. But even then, it was never like this. They both fell silent. Outside, the night pressed against the windows, dense and watchful.
far away across the fabric of Universe 7, in a realm untouchable by mortals, Whis drifted through an endless corridor of light. His staff glowed faintly, each flicker displaying a different moment in time. Battles, destructions, quiet laughs shared over food. He watched them all with his usual, gentle detachment.
Until a thin silver line cut across the polished surface of his staff. His eyes narrowed slightly. There it is again. The staff showed Raika, not clearly, not directly. She appeared as a cluster of lights, each thread representing a possible movement her body could take. Most of them were dim, unrealized. One blazed bright. The one she had chosen. The one that had dodged an attack that never came. Pre-instinct, and at such an early stage, fascinating. He was not alone. From the far side of the glowing corridor, another angelic presence approached, tall, serene, carrying a staff similar to his own. Their aura hummed with ancient calm. "You feel it too," they said. Their voice carried the weight of distant universes. The disturbance. Wish nodded. "Our Saiyan of fate is developing in curious directions." "Curious," the other angel repeated, tasting the word. "Or dangerous." Wish tilted his head. "Is there a difference?" The angel's eyes hardened. "We cannot allow her to tread paths meant only for us." Wish looked back at the image of the flickering lights. "She is not treading, she is touching. The difference is vast, and yet dangerously thin. And the remnants?" the other angel asked quietly. "Have these stirred?" Wish's silence was answer enough. The angel's expression turned grave. "If the forgotten ones awaken through her, the grand priest will not remain passive, nor will Zeno-sama." Wish lowered his gaze slightly. "Then perhaps," he said softly, "it is our duty to ensure that she grows with a tether." The air trembled subtly. Threads of fate rearranged themselves around a child who did not know her name carried a title. Back on Earth, Raika's trembling eased, the wisps of silver fading slowly like mist. Her breathing steadied. Caulifla rocked her gently, jaw tight, eyes wet with emotion she refused to let fall. Goku watched them, feeling the weight of a choice pressing down on his shoulders. "We can't ignore this," he finally said. "If her body is already moving like that, it's going to happen again. Maybe worse, maybe in a fight, maybe when we're not ready." "So what? You want to train her? She can barely say your name and you want to teach her how to fight gods?" Goku hesitated. "No, I want to teach her how to stop." Caulifla blinked. "Stop?" "Her ki, her reflexes. If she keeps reacting without understanding, she could hurt herself. Or someone else. Or more than someone." Caulifla looked down at Raika, at her small fingers, at the tears still drying on her cheeks. "She shouldn't have to carry this." "I agree," Goku said softly. "But she does, whether we like it or not." Silence settled around them like dust, filling the cracks in their fear, the spaces between their words. Finally, Caulifla spoke. "If anyone trains her, it's us. Not angels, not gods. Us." Goku nodded. Us. Raika stirred, eyes half open, gazing between her parents. For a moment, her aura flared just enough to cast a faint glow on their faces. She lifted her hand, clumsily, reaching toward Goku. He took it gently. The three of them formed a fragile circuit of ki, fierce, wild, and pure. It hummed softly, as though the universe itself took note of the bond. In that quiet moment, Raika's eyes sharpened. The silver edge returned, not as chaos, but as stillness. Her gaze drifted past her parents, toward the door. Something was drawing near. Goku felt it a second later, a presence descending from the sky, calm yet heavy, like a star politely choosing to visit the surface. Caulifla surged. "Another one?"
Goku exhaled, recognizing the familiar, precise ripple in the air. "No," he said, "not like last time.
A soft knock echoed, not on wood, but on space itself. And then Whis stepped gently into the room. His eyes went first to Raika, and this time there was no hesitation in them at all. Whis did not arrive the way ordinary visitors did. He did not open the door. He did not knock again. His presence simply folded into the room like a curtain of reality being lifted, revealing him already standing there, serene, poised, one hand resting lightly atop his staff. The silver rings around his neck glowed faintly in the dim light of the house. Goku instinctively stepped in front of Caulifla and Raika. Cauliflower's aura snapped to life like a blade drawn from its shepherd. "Whis," Goku said, voice low, "why are you here?" Whis's expression was its usual gentle smile, but there was a subtle weight behind it tonight, a gravity that Goku had only seen a handful of times, moments before realities were judged or destinies altered. "Please relax," Whis said softly. "I come with no harmful intent." "That's what worries me," Cauliflower muttered darkly. Raika peeked over Cauliflower's shoulder. The moment her eyes found Whis, the air around her shimmered, not violently, not fearfully, but with recognition. Silver motes gathered around her tiny hand. Whis's own gaze softened ever so slightly. "There it is," he whispered. "The resonance." Cauliflower tightened her grip on Raika. "Back up." Whis obeyed, surprisingly, and took a single, respectful step backward. "I assure you, I am not here to take your child." Goku caught the subtle phrasing. Not here to take. Not here to harm. Not here to judge. But here for something. "What do you want?" Goku asked. Whis tilted his head. "To observe, to understand, and to warn." Raika lifted her hand toward him, but this time, instead of ki swirling wildly, her aura settled, quiet, curious, like she recognized him from somewhere deeper than memory. Whis watched her with ancient patience. The pre-instinct within her has begun to ripple through the flow of potential futures. Yes, minor things, but enough that even Zeno-sama paused mid-snack. Goku swallowed hard. That wasn't good. Zeno pausing anything, much less a snack, was never good. Cauliflower stepped forward, aura brightening. "So what? You think she's dangerous?" Whis's smile thinned. "Not unkind, but honest. Everything with potential is dangerous. Even you, Cauliflower-san." Cauliflower barked a humorless laugh. "Nice dodge." Whis's eyes drifted to the cracked floorboards, the faint shimmer still clinging to Raika's ki. She reacted to possibilities that have not yet occurred. That alone is unusual. Goku frowned. "You mean the dodging?" Not merely dodging. She sensed a future attack that wasn't chosen, a path that was only a whisper. Cauliflower spat the words like fire. "She moved to avoid something imaginary. That's not a crime." Whis turned his gaze to her. Not harsh, but clear. It is not imaginary when the universe itself acknowledges the movement. Silence spread like a cold mist. Goku spoke first. "What does that mean?" Whis tapped the end of his staff lightly against the floor. The house hummed as a small projection expanded, a shimmering sphere filled with radiating threads of possibility. Each thread pulsed faintly, branching, weaving. Every living being generates paths, countless possibilities. Most fade unchosen. A few become reality. Only angels can perceive all of them. Raika lifted her hand toward the projection. Every thread shivered. Whis watched closely, except her.
The sphere bent toward Raika's hand, not collapsing, not breaking, but acknowledging her, reacting to her presence like a living thing. Goku inhaled sharply. "Whis, why is it doing that?" Whis closed his eyes briefly.
Because something ancient has already touched her soul.
Caulifla's voice trembled with fury. Those beings under the mountain? That thing that took shape? Whis hesitated, and that alone terrified Goku more than any godly threat. You encountered a remnant, a fragment of what came before us. Goku's breath stopped. So they're real. Yes, but they are not meant to be awake. Raika's aura flickered again, silver breaking into faint gold along the edges. Whis' eyes sharpened with alarm. Do not let her resonate further with them. Caulifla stepped between Whis and her daughter, voice like steel. She didn't ask for this, and she won't be used. Whis nodded slowly, a sentiment I respect deeply, which is why I am here to offer, not demand, guidance. Goku met Whis' eyes. Guidance or control. Control is rarely effective, but understanding, that can save her. Raika let out a small cry, not frightened, but overwhelmed. Her ki crackled faintly, pulling at the threads in the projection. Possibilities trembled. Whis lowered himself to one knee, the only sign of angelic humility he had ever shown to a mortal. He spoke gently, with a softness that carried centuries. Raika, little one, the currents you touch are not yet meant for you. Let them rest for now. Raika blinked, and the silver aura around her dimmed, settling like dust. Goku's heart eased. Caulifla exhaled shakily. Whis rose. I will not interfere more tonight, but know that the Grand Priest will notice soon, and when he does, the choice to remain hidden will no longer be yours alone. Goku felt his stomach knot. Caulifla stepped forward. Then teach us how to help her. Whis paused. Slowly, a rare wistful smile touched his lips. Very well. Then let this be the first lesson. He lifted his staff. The projection dissolved, the room dimmed, and Whis spoke a phrase Goku had never heard him utter. A warning, a truth, and a promise. Ultra instinct is not the final form of trust, but the first. Raika's eyes shone faintly in the dark, silver, turning to a soft, impossible violet. A spark of fate whispered awake. The house fell into a deeper stillness after Whis' final words, so quiet it felt as though even the dust motes hesitated to move. Goku watched the angel carefully, searching for the hidden intent behind that declaration. But Whis offered nothing else. No elaboration, no explanation, only silence, as if trusting the words themselves to take root. Caulifla didn't trust silence. Not from angels. Not tonight. Start talking, she demanded. What does that even mean? Ultra instinct isn't the final form of trust. Whis' staff glowed faintly. It means that instinct is but the opening door, Caulifla-san, not the destination. That tells me exactly nothing, she snapped. Whis breathed softly, almost regretfully. Understanding may come slower for you than for her. His eyes shifted to Raika, whose tiny fingers still clutched Caulifla's shirt. But it will come. Goku stepped forward. Whis, why does Raika react to your ki like she knows you, like she's seen you before? Whis paused. Not long, but long enough to count as a confession. Because angels and remnants share ancestral echoes, he said, and she has already touched one. Goku felt the words hit him like cold water. You mean she can see angelic energy? Not see, Whis corrected. Respond, recognize, reflect. Reika, now more awake, reached her hand toward Whis again. Her aura trembled, not in fear, but in resonance, as though recognizing him from those ancient symbols that had enveloped her. Whis gently raised his staff, creating a small veil between them. Not yet, little one. Reika's aura dimmed, disappointed. Caulifla held her closer. We're asking one more time, what do you want with our daughter? Whis studied both parents.
His expression remained soft, but the weight in his eyes was immense, like countless lifetimes rested behind them. To prevent the Grand Priest from taking interest before she is ready. Goku's heart froze. Caulifla's breath caught. You think he'd take her away? Whis did not answer directly, which was answer enough. He would not harm her, Whis eventually said, but he would shape her into what he believes she must be. She's not a weapon, Caulifla snarled softly. No, Whis agreed. She is something far more frightening. His gaze dropped to Reika, whose violet-tinged aura now flickered like soft candlelight. She is a choice. Caulifla looked confused. A choice for what? For the universes, for the gods, for the remnants, for the concept of fate itself. Goku took a slow step toward Whis. Explain. Whis turned toward the window. Outside, the moon hovered low over the mountains, casting its pale reflection across the lake, a perfect silver mirror. Ultra instinct allows the body to move without hesitation, a technique born from surrender. One must trust the universe completely. Goku nodded. Whis lifted his fingers to the moonlight. The reflection in the lake flickered, splintered into many overlapping images, like shards of possible futures. But there exists another path, one that predates the angels, one that is not surrender. He tapped the window lightly. The splintered reflections aligned into one. But choice. Goku felt something deep within him stir. Choice in instinct? Whis nodded. A being who can choose among all possible movements, among all paths, would eclipse every form of instinct, mortal or divine. Caulifla scoffed. Now she's supposed to pick the future? Seriously? Whis smiled faintly. Not pick the future. Pick herself, over and over. He turned back to Reika. And she already has. Reika blinked slowly, lifting her hand once more, not toward Whis this time, but toward the small, fractured shadow on the wall behind her. A shadow that hadn't been there moments before. Goku tensed. Whis! Whis moved his staff gently, erasing the shadow. A merely possible threat. She felt it, she removed herself from its path. She saw it, Caulifla whispered, realization dawning. Yes, Whis said. She felt an echo of intent from a future that no longer will be. That is the forbidden instinct, the instinct of choice. Reika's head rested gently on Caulifla's shoulder. Her aura dimmed back to its soft, steady glow, exhausted from a power she did not yet understand. Whis lowered his staff. This is why I am here, he said quietly. Not to intervene, not to take her, but to warn you. Goku stepped closer. Of what? Whis looked at him with a tenderness that felt older than creation.
Of the moment, he said, when she will choose to move against something that does not yet exist, and in doing so, draw the eyes of every divine being who watches these universes. Cauliflower's grip tightened. When will that be? Whis exhaled faintly. Soon. Goku's blood chilled. How soon? Whis closed his eyes. When she dreams of a warrior she has never met, and he dreams back. The house dimmed. Lights flickered. Raiku's aura fluttered like a leaf in a storm. Goku's breath caught in his chest. Who? Cauliflower whispered. Whis opened his eyes, and for the first time in the entire conversation, he looked troubled. The one who has surpassed gods by defying fate itself. The one who shattered destiny with will.
the one whose instinct she will resonate with long before she speaks her first full sentence. Goku felt his heart stop. Whis whispered the name. Jiren. Outside, the wind shifted, an omen, a whisper through the trees, as though the universe itself reacted. Raika stirred in Cauliflower's arms. Her eyes opened. Violet and silver swirled, and in the depths of those infant eyes, a shape flickered, a silhouette beneath an alien sky, a tower of quiet strength, a warrior of absolute resolve. Jiren. Raika did not know the name Jiren. She did not know the tournament of power, nor the arena where universes trembled. She did not know the weight of his silence, the depth of his solitude, or the immovable will that carved him into legend. But she felt him. It was faint, like a distant heartbeat, a gravity so subtle it teased the edges of her awareness. Yet to Raika, whose aura already danced with threads of possibility, that faint echo was as clear as a beacon. Her eyes remained fixed on a point far beyond the walls of the home. Not downward, as they had when she heard the remnants under the mountain, not toward Whis, not toward her parents, but outward, into the void, across universes. Cauliflower noticed it first, the way Raika's gaze hardened with something that was not fear, not confusion, but focus, as though looking for an answer she hadn't realized she needed. "Why him?" Cauliflower whispered through clenched teeth. Whis didn't smile. He didn't soften his tone. His voice carried the weight of inevitability. Because he is the one being in all the multiverse whose instinct was forged outside fate. Not given, not learned from angels, built through loss. Goku swallowed. He doesn't use Ultra Instinct. No, Whis said. He opposes it. He refuses surrender. His strength is the ultimate paradox, a mortal who became unstoppable not by trusting the universe, but by trusting absolutely in himself. Goku remembered their fight vividly, the unstoppable pressure of Jiren's presence, the way time itself seemed to hesitate around him. Cauliflower's voice shook with anger. She's a baby. She shouldn't be thinking about warriors who collapse universes. Whis lowered his gaze. She isn't thinking. She's sensing. Goku stepped closer to Raika, kneeling in front of her. Raika, it's okay. You're safe. Whoever you're feeling, he's far away. Raika blinked, and a tear rolled down her cheek. Not from fear, from recognition.
It unsettled Goku more than anything so far. "She knows him," Goku whispered. Whis nodded. "They share a trait few beings ever do. Both touch the realm where instinct and will collide." His voice softened. "And both were born into a universe too small to contain them." Raika lifted her hand again, not towards Whis, not toward the shadow, toward the horizon, where the sky met the mountains. Her aura pulsed once, softly, like a question. Goku reached up, taking her tiny hand gently. "Hey, don't worry, we're here." But he felt it, just for a moment, like a gust of wind blowing across a battlefield, a presence, a watcher, a warrior unaware of his observer. Jiren. Not consciously, not intentionally, but something in his spirit, a lone flame burning in an empty world, had flickered in response. Cauliflower hugged Raika close. "I don't want her connected to someone like that, someone so broken." Whis raised an eyebrow. "And yet, is that not what draws her? A being shaped not by divine will, but by the scars of his own choices." Goku exhaled. "Whis, are she going to meet him? To fight him?"
Whis didn't answer immediately. Not for many years. Perhaps not ever if her path diverges. Then why warn us? Caulifla snapped. Because connection has consequences, and because Jiren is not the only one who will feel her awakening. A cold draft slipped through the cracks in the wall, making the lamps flicker. Whist's expression darkened. The Grand Priest will send someone to observe, quietly at first. They will not intervene, they will not touch her, they will simply watch. Cauliflower bristled. Let them watch. They come near my daughter and I'll— You cannot threaten angels, Whist reminded gently. I can try, Cauliflower hissed. Goku placed a hand on her arm, calming her. Whist, what are we supposed to do? Whist stepped toward them, and for the first time, his serene tone carried urgency. Teach her balance. Not strength, not battle. Balance. His eyes hardened. Her instinct is awakening too early. If she aligns herself with possibilities she cannot understand, she may rip her own ki apart. Goku's stomach twisted. So, we train her how to stay grounded? Whist nodded. Exactly. Her instinct must not outpace her humanity. Cauliflower looked down at Raika, at her glowing violet eyes slowly fading back to their silver glow. We'll teach her, she said quietly. We'll keep her safe. Whist lowered his staff. The air around him began to ripple, subtle signs he was preparing to return to his realm. I will assist, he said softly, but from afar. My presence alone may accelerate her awakening. Goku frowned. You're leaving already? I must. Whist's gaze fell on Raika one last time. If I remain, the Grand Priest will sense the anomaly. He turned toward the window. But before he vanished, he spoke with quiet, piercing clarity. And remember, this above all, Jiren is not her enemy. Goku and Cauliflower exchanged confused looks. Whist's eyes softened, as if seeing futures they could not imagine. He may one day become the only being capable of stabilizing her instinct, when even gods cannot. The lights flickered. The air folded. Whist vanished. The room fell silent. Then Raika reached toward the empty space he left behind, her small voice whispering, a sound neither of her parents had ever heard her make. Soft, clear, almost like a name. Ren.
Goku's heart froze. Caulifla's grip tightened protectively. Outside, the wind shifted again, darker this time, carrying the subtle tremor of converging destinies. Raika slept uneasily that night, not with the peaceful stillness of an infant, nor the soft drifting of dreams untouched by the world. Her sleep pulsed, her breathing rose and fell in waves, her aura flickered with dim, restless light as though caught between two rhythms, one mortal, one impossibly ancient. Goku and Caulifla stayed awake beside her until dawn. Goku sat by the window, eyes fixed on the paling sky, replaying every word Whis had spoken. The warning, the prophecy, the connection to Jiren. None of it settled well in his chest. Caulifla didn't sit at all. She paced the room like a caged storm, fighting the urge to blast through the ceiling and tear the heavens apart in search of whoever or whatever dared to tug at her daughter's spirit. When Raika finally stirred, her eyes opened slowly. Not the bright silver they were born with, not the violet tint awakened by the remnants, but something murkier, something clouded. Goku kneeled beside her at once. Raika, hey, morning. Raika didn't look at him, she stared past him, through him, as if focusing on something too distant to belong to the house, the mountain, or even the planet. Caulifla stopped pacing immediately. Goku, look at her. Raika blinked once, twice. Then her small hand lifted and pointed straight toward the far wall.
There was nothing there. But the moment her finger rose, the air thickened. Heat rippled. The shadows vibrated. Goku stiffened. She's sensing something. Raika let out a small whimper, not fear, but effort, like she was straining to see something her body wasn't built to perceive yet. And then her tiny voice cracked through the silence. Ren! Caulifla's face went cold. She's saying it again! Goku's jaw tightened. Jiren! Raika shook her head, slow, deliberate, as though disagreeing, as though correcting him. She pressed her palm to the wall. A faint ring of silver light bloomed beneath her handprint. The wood of the wall shivered, not from force, but from resonance, like an echo answering a call. Caulifla grabbed Raika, pulling her back protectively. Enough! No more talking to walls or ghosts or warriors in other universes. But the resonance didn't stop. Goku felt it now, like the tiniest thread stretching outward through space, trembling under a pole from somewhere unimaginably far away. He focused, letting his senses expand, past the house, past the mountain, past the planet. At first, he felt nothing. Then, a spark, a flicker of pressure, faint but unmistakable. An aura so dense it compressed the space around it. It wasn't reaching towards them. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't even aware. But it existed. And the moment Raika awakened this new sense, she brushed against it. Jiren's presence. Not fully, not clearly, not consciously. Just a ripple from his spirit, carried across universes like the echo of a distant drumbeat. Raika wasn't calling him. She wasn't summoning him. She was hearing him, understanding his existence the way a newborn bird understands the wind. Caulifla pressed Raika to her chest. Why him? Why not someone gentle, someone peaceful? Why does she feel the strongest monster in Universe 11? He's not a monster. He murmured. He didn't know the right word. Not ally, not enemy, not teacher, not friend. Jiren was something else entirely. Something singular. He's will, Goku finished quietly. Pure will. Caulifla scoffed. Then she can learn will from us. Goku's gaze darkened. Not like his. Raika's small hand reached back toward the wall again, trembling, not from fear, but from strain, as though the weight of the connection was too heavy for her infant body. Her eyes shimmered faintly with violet. Ren. The floor trembled, not violently, but in a way that warned of the world listening too closely. Goku grabbed Caulifla's wrist. Take her outside, now. Caulifla didn't argue. They rushed onto the grass as dawn broke fully, casting warm gold across the valley. The sunlight hit Raika's aura, and the silver wisps around her erupted outward like sparks caught in a breeze. Goku felt his breath catch. She wasn't just sensing Jiren. Her instinct was pulling at the unchosen path, one of countless futures where Jiren, through sheer unbreakable will, sensed her in return. Not now, not consciously, but someday. Raika cried out suddenly, overwhelmed. The mountain shook, the trees bowed. And for an instant, just an instant, Goku felt another presence brush the edge of reality. Sudden, sharp, focused, a mind forged in solitude, a key that knew only overcoming, a spirit that defied gods. Jiren. Not awake, not reaching, but reacting. Somewhere in Universe 11 beneath the red sky, the strongest mortal alive opened his eyes, just for a heartbeat. Goku froze. Caulifla held Raika tighter. Raika's trembling stopped. Her aura dimmed. The resonance snapped. And far away, Jiren's eyes slowly closed again. Goku exhaled shakily. Okay. That was close. Caulifla turned to him, voice trembling with equal parts fury and fear. Goku, what's happening to her? Goku didn't answer, because behind Caulifla, Raika lifted her head, eyes clearer now, shining silver again,
and whispered a sound that wasn't fear or confusion. It was resolve, a tiny voice shaped by instinct and destiny. Pa-rin. Father, will, unbroken path, the echo of a warrior she'd never met. The word hung in the air longer than sound should. Pa-rin. It was clumsy, half-broken, stitched from two instincts that had no business merging, affection and resolve. Goku heard his name inside it, buried under the weight of something else. Caulifla heard only the first half and clung to it like a lifeline. She said, "Pa, that's you," she insisted, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. Goku smiled softly. "Yeah, that's me." But he knew it wasn't only him. Raika's gaze drifted beyond them again, as if some part of her was always turned outward, listening to a rhythm they couldn't hear. The silver in her eyes settled. The air stopped trembling. The mountains went quiet. For the first time since dawn, the world felt simple again. Days passed. Raika didn't speak the name again. Not Jiren, not Narin, not even the broken syllable that stitched will to fatherhood. She was just a child again, laughing when Goku made faces, tugging on Caulifla's hair, chasing fireflies with unsteady legs. But even in her smallest gestures, the strangeness remained. She would reach for a cup just before Caulifla knocked it over. She would step aside before Goku turned, avoiding his motion before it began. Once, as the storm rolled in, lightning struck a tree near the house, and Raika, barely awake, reached toward the window. The strike veered. It hit an empty patch of ground instead. "Coincidence," Caulifla muttered, arms crossed tightly across her chest.
Goku didn't argue, but at night, when Raika slept, he sat outside and watched the sky, wondering how long coincidence could keep disguising itself as fate. It couldn't last. It ended on a quiet afternoon. The sky was clear, the air warm, the earth soft beneath bare feet. Raika had grown, a little taller and a little more coordinated, her hair longer, tied messily by Caulifla's impatient hands. She ran in circles around Goku, laughing breathlessly, her ki leaving faint glimmers in the grass that faded a moment after she passed. "Slow down, Raika," Goku called, grinning. "If you go too fast, you'll trip." She skidded to a halt, planting her feet perfectly. No stumble, no wobble. Her balance was uncanny, as if she felt gravity like a friend leaning on her shoulder. Caulifla lounged on a nearby rock, pretending not to watch every step. She's not gonna trip. She'll backflip before she ever hits dirt. Raika turned to them. Eyes bright, aura gently flaring. She raised her fists, a clumsy stance, too wide, too high. But there was intent in it. "Fight," she said. The word was small but clear. Goku blinked. "You want to spar with me?" Raika nodded once. Caulifla's head snapped up. "Absolutely not. She can't even tie her boots." Raika frowned, lowering her hands and looking down at her bare feet. Goku chuckled softly. "I'll go easy on her. That's what you say to people who can already destroy mountains. She's a kid." Raika's aura dipped. It wasn't anger. It was hurt. Goku saw it, and something inside him clenched. He knelt down to her level. "Hey, she's just worried about you, that's all." Raika looked up at him. Her eyes searched his face, the wrinkles of laughter, the faint scars, the easy smile. She seemed to weigh something inside herself, like a scale struggling to balance. Then slowly, she raised her fists again. "Learn," she said. The word hit harder than any punch. Goku glanced back at Caulifla. Caulifla cursed under her breath. "Fine, fine, but you don't block with your face like your dad." Goku laughed. "I'll keep it light, promise." He stepped back a few paces, planting his feet in the grass. No ki, no flaring aura, just his body, just his presence. "Okay, Raika," he said. "Show me what you've got." She nodded, serious now. Her little hands clenched. She took a step forward, then another, each one measured in a way that didn't fit her age. Goku watched carefully. She wasn't copying his stance. She wasn't mimicking something she had seen. She was feeling. She lifted her leg for a kick. Her balance faltered. For a fraction of a second, the world seemed to slip. The angle wrong, the weight distribution off. A normal child would have fallen, scraped a knee, cried, and learned. Reicha did not fall. Her body corrected before gravity could fully claim her, pivoting on the ball of her foot, angle shifting with impossible precision. She landed solidly, the motion smooth enough to make even Goku's breath hitch. "Did you feel that?" he whispered. Caulifla scowled. "Feel what?" Goku's voice was low. "She almost fell. She changed the motion mid-mistake, like she chose another path." Raika blinked, looking at her own foot with faint curiosity, as if realizing she had done something strange, but not knowing what. "Again," she said. She stepped forward, lifted her leg. The same wobble, the same mistake. Only this time, there was no instinctive correction. There was a pause, a breath. The air thickened. Raika's eyes unfocused.
And Goku saw it, just for a heartbeat. The world around her split. Two images layered themselves over each other. In one, she fell. Knee hitting the ground. Tears. Frustration. In the other, she pivoted perfectly. Grace. Balance. Pride. Two paths. Two futures. For a single impossible moment, both were true. Then Raika exhaled. The falling version faded. She chose. Her foot landed perfectly. The world snapped back together. Goku staggered backward, heart pounding. That wasn't instinct. Caulifla rose slowly from the rock, eyes wide, all sarcasm drained from her face. What just happened? Raika stood very still, chest rising and falling. A sheen of sweat glistened on her forehead, not from exertion, but from strain, like lifting something heavy that no one could see. The air around her shimmered faintly. Not like heat, like something pulling at the edges of reality, testing its seams. "Goku," Caulifla whispered. "Say something." He swallowed. She didn't just react. She saw both ways things could go, and she picked one. Caulifla stared at her daughter, a mix of awe and horror warring in her expression. "That's not training. That's cheating." Raika wobbled again, this time not from clumsiness, but from the effort of what she'd done. Her aura flickered a tiny silver halo around her feet, and at the edges of the clearing, time stuttered. A bird froze mid-flight for a fraction of a second. Leaves paused in mid-fall before resuming their descent. A droplet of water hanging from a branch trembled between falling and staying as if forgotten by gravity. The world shivered around Raika's choice. Goku's eyes went wide. She's not just choosing movements. He felt it in his bones, in the marrow of his ki. She's choosing moments. Raika's knees buckled. For an instant, as she began to fall for real, the air filled with 1,000 ghost images of what could happen. Goku catching her, Caulifla catching her, neither of them fast enough. The ground cracking, space distorting. 1,000 unchosen paths blooming like cracks in glass. Raika's aura flared. The world held its breath. And this time, there was no gentle correction. There was only pressure. Building. Straining. Ready to break. The pressure built like a storm held inside a glass sphere. Silent. Bright. Trembling at the edge of shatter. Raika's small body hung suspended in the moment before she hit the ground, ki twisting around her like threads pulled too tightly. Goku lunged forward. Caulifla moved at the same instant. Neither was fast enough. Not because Raika was falling too quickly, she wasn't. Not because they hesitated, they didn't. But because time itself hesitated with them. A humming filled the air. Soft at first, then sharp.
like someone running their finger across the edge of a fragile cup. Raika's aura pulsed outward. Everything stopped. Not completely. Just wrong. The world didn't freeze. It thickened. Colors dulled. The wind stuttered. Gravity forgot what direction to pull. Goku's fingertips, inches from Raika's shoulder, hung in a syrupy thick moment that refused to continue. Caulifla's eyes, fierce and wide, seemed trapped between one heartbeat and the next. And Raika floated in the center of the distortion, eyes half closed as if drifting between dream and waking. Thousands of possibilities spiraled around her like translucent ribbons, each one whispering a different outcome. Some gentle, some broken, some too bright to look at directly, but none of them solid, none of them chosen. The pressure mounted. It wasn't violent. It wasn't explosive. It was inevitable. Then Raika's eyes opened fully. Silver. Clear. Too clear. She inhaled. Sharp. Pained. And the world snapped. Not with a bang.
Goku and Caulifla stumbled forward as time rushed back into itself. Leaves fell. The wind resumed. The bird completed its arc through the sky. The droplet finally fell from the branch and splashed on the dirt. And Raika didn't hit the ground. She was standing. Not because she caught herself, not because she regained balance, but because she had chosen the version of reality in which she landed safely. Caulifla rushed to her, scooping her up with shaking arms. "Raika, baby! Hey, look at me." She checked her limbs, her breath, her heartbeat, searching for any sign of strain or pain. Raika blinked slowly, exhausted, but calm. Goku approached, trying to steady his voice. She warped the moment. Caulifla didn't respond immediately. She held Raika close, rocking her gently even though Raika was no longer crying or trembling. It was Caulifla who needed the comfort. Finally, she looked up at Goku with a face that had lost all bravado. "What's happening to her?" Her voice cracked. "What is she?" Goku crouched next to them. "She's our daughter." "That's not what I mean, and you know it." Goku exhaled, eyes drifting to the clearing where the world had bent. "I think she's seeing things before they happen, not far into the future, just the next few heartbeats, the next few outcomes." Caulifla pressed her forehead to Raika's. "That's not a Saiyan ability." "No," Goku said quietly. "It's something else." The wind shifted then, just enough to make the leaves rustle sideways instead of forward. Goku's instincts prickled. Caulifla sensed it too. "What now?" Goku rose to his feet slowly. "Someone's watching." The clearing went silent. The trees stood unnaturally still. Even the insects quieted. A presence settled at the edge of perception, not heavy like a god of destruction, nor vast like an angel. It was subtle, gentle, soft as the fold of a page, but unmistakable. Caulifla clutched Raika tighter. "Is it the Grand Priest?" Goku shook his head, tension coiling through his muscles. "No, it's not divine." Something stepped out from behind a tree. No flash of light, no ripple of power, just quiet footsteps, deliberate and steady. A tall figure emerged, cloaked, hooded, face hidden, ki muted to nothing, but their presence hummed with something ancient, something that didn't belong to any mortal realm. Goku moved in front of Caulifla without thought. "Who are you?" The figure stopped a few feet away, head tilting slightly, not threatening, not hesitant, simply observing. When they finally spoke, their voice was calm, low, and carried a strange softness. "I am not your enemy." Caulifla snarled. "Wrong answer." Goku raised a hand to quiet her, though his own heart hammered. The figure continued, voice steady. "The child has touched a thread she was not meant to sense, a branch of possibility woven from will, not divinity." Goku's breath caught. "You know about Jiren?" The hooded head turned slightly toward Raika, not with hunger, not with fear,
but with recognition, deep recognition. I know the one she echoes. Caulifla's grip tightened around Raika. Stay away from her. I intend to, the figure said calmly, but I must deliver a message. Goku's jaw tightened. From who? The wind stilled. The air thickened.
And the figure spoke two words that drained all warmth from the clearing. From his path. Goku's pulse went cold. Caulifla's aura crackled, and Raika lifted her head from Caulifla's shoulder. Her silver eyes stared directly at the hooded figure, as if she already knew what they were going to say. Raika's gaze locked onto the hooded stranger with a clarity far too focused for her age. Her silver eyes didn't widen in fear or curiosity. They simply recognized, as if whatever stood before her wasn't new at all, but something she'd felt long before her body learned to speak. The figure bowed their head slightly in acknowledgement. She sees it, they murmured, even before the words are spoken. Caulifla stepped back, shielding Raika with her entire body. I don't care what she sees. You're not saying a damn thing until we know who you are. The stranger lifted their hands slowly, palms open in a gesture of peace. I carry no weapon, no malice, only the message entrusted to me. Their voice wavered faintly, as though the words themselves were heavier than their frame. Goku's stance shifted. He didn't flare his aura, didn't summon power. He simply stood there, silent, ready, the way he did when faced with beings he didn't understand yet. Speak, he said. But know this, if you threaten her, even by accident, I won't hold back. The figure nodded their head. That is expected. You are her father. Then their attention shifted, drawn as if against their will, to Raika. And when they spoke again, their voice carried a softness that did not belong to warriors, gods, or mortals. Child of the two Saiyan paths, your steps echo the unchosen. Raika blinked once. A windless shiver rippled across the clearing. Goku frowned. The unchosen? The figure turned toward him. Even without seeing their face, Goku felt the weight of their eyes. There are roads in the multiverse, not taken by fate, not shaped by power, not seen even by angels. They are born from will alone, from decisions made in silence, from hearts that refuse to break. Their head tilted slightly. One such road was carved by the one your daughter senses. Caulifla's breath hitched. Jiren? The figure bowed their head. Yes, the mortal who forged strength beyond divine design. A being who bends the universe not through instinct, but through unyielding resolve. Goku swallowed hard. His memories of the arena flickered. Jiren standing against the cosmos, unshaken, unbroken, a pillar of will so absolute it warped the space around him. I fought him. I learned from him. But what does he have to do with her? The stranger's voice lowered, almost reverently. Your daughter has touched a fragment of his path. Raika let out a soft breath, her aura shimmering like a candle in wind. Caulifla's face tightened. Why? How? She's never met him. Will answers will, the stranger said simply. Even across universes. Even without intent. Goku took a slow step forward. So, this isn't something Jiren caused? No, the figure replied. He is unaware, but the strength he created, the future he carved by force of spirit, left an imprint upon the fabric of possibility. Your daughter sensed that echo because her own spirit resonates with it. Caulifla shook her head fiercely. She's a kid, a baby. Her spirit doesn't resonate with anything except her parents. The hooded figure turned fully toward her. You misunderstand. This is not destiny. This is recognition.
She sees in him what she will one day face in herself.
A sharp crack split the air, Caulifla's key flaring, unstable. Don't talk like she's some kind of monster. She isn't, but her power is not linear, not stable. She does not grow forward, she grows outward. Goku stiffened. Outward? The figure lifted one hand and drew a slow arc across the air. The motion bent the sunlight, shimmering space like heat rising from stone. Your daughter does not choose strength, she chooses possibility. The words echoed through the clearing, sinking into the soil, the trees, the very air. Goku's chest tightened. That moment earlier, when she almost fell. Yes, she did not react. She did not predict. She reached into the branching paths of what could happen and selected the one she wanted. Caulifla's voice cracked like breaking stone. That's impossible. It is forbidden, the figure corrected gently. Not by gods or angels, but by reality itself. The clearing dimmed, shadows lengthened. Even the sun seemed to recoil at the truth. Reality resists being rewritten. Her instincts already strain against the order of cause and effect. If unchecked, she will not simply grow stronger, she will erode the foundation of the world she stands upon. Goku clutched Raika tighter. So what? You're here to take her away? The figure took a slow step back, as if horrified by the very idea. No, they said quickly. I am here to warn you, to teach you how to anchor her. If she is not grounded, emotionally, spiritually, her power will seek the strongest will in the multiverse to stabilize itself. Goku's blood ran cold. He already knew the name before it was spoken. Jiren, the figure whispered. If she loses herself, she will gravitate toward him. Not because he calls her, but because he is the only being whose will can counterbalance her own. Raika's aura fluttered in Caulifla's arms, soft silver trembling with faint violet. Goku stepped protectively beside his family. What's your message? He asked, voice low. The figure inhaled and spoke with a weight that pushed the grass flat to the earth. Prepare her heart, not her fists. Teach her trust, teach her calm, teach her humanity. They lowered their hood, and Goku's breath caught. The figure's face was not human, not divine, not alien. They had no eyes, no mouth. Only smooth white skin carved with faint, glowing lines, like a being made of pure potential, shaped only by the outlines of identity. A messenger from possibility, Goku whispered. The figure bowed. From the path she has already touched. Then, as they dissolved into fading strands of light, they spoke one last warning. Do not let her seek him until she can choose her path without shattering another. The clearing went silent. Raika lifted her hand toward the place where the figure vanished and whispered, not in fear, but in understanding. Choose. The word slipped from Raika's mouth like a breath of wind. Soft, barely formed, but anchored with a weight far beyond language. Choose. Goku felt it in his chest, a pulse that wasn't ki, wasn't instinct, wasn't emotion, but something deeper, a whisper of reality bending its ear toward a child who didn't understand the shape of their own voice. Caulifla held Raika tighter, the muscles in her arms trembling. Goku, I don't like this. I don't like any of this. Goku didn't answer immediately. He watched the space where the messenger had vanished, the air still glowing faintly as if remembering the shape of that impossible being. The scent of their presence lingered, like ozone before lightning, like a storm that had passed but left the clouds uneasy. He lowered himself to one knee in front of his daughter. Raika, look at me. Slowly she turned her head, her silver eyes still shimmering faintly with the residue of what she had done, what she had touched, met his. There was no fear in them,
No confusion, only effort, as if being present in a single timeline was harder for her than drifting between them. "Do you know what you did?" he whispered. Raika blinked slowly. Her tiny hand rose and rested against his cheek. The touch was warm, human, soft enough to break his heart. And then, barely loud enough to hear, "No. Fall." Goku's breath caught. Caulifla stiffened. "Don't tell me she remembers that." "She does," Goku murmured. "She remembers choosing." Raika's hand slipped down, resting against his chest, right over his heartbeat. Her eyes softened, as if grounding herself in the rhythm of it, as if the beat gave her something stable to cling to in a world that wanted to split around her. Goku placed his hand over hers. "That's right. Here. Stay here. With us." The wind shifted gently, rustling the grass. The world felt normal again, at least on the surface. But something in the air had changed. Something in Reicha had changed. And something far beyond the mountains, beyond the universe, had stirred. Goku stood slowly. "Caulifla, we have to train her." Caulifla rounded on him instantly. "Absolutely not. She's a child. She's our child, not some tool to control timelines." "It's not about power," Goku said softly. "It's about stability. Whis warned us. That messenger warned us. If she keeps choosing outcomes without knowing how to stay anchored, she'll hurt herself." Caulifla finished, voice cracking. Goku nodded. Caulifla's shoulders sagged. She looked at Raika, who now rested against her chest, staring up at the sky with eyes too old for her tiny frame. "Fine," Caulifla said at last. "But we train her our way, together, and she stays with us at all times." "Of course," Goku replied. "But it won't be normal training. Not punches, not kicks. She needs things that keep her centered." "Like what?" "Quiet, stillness, balance, emotions she can hold on to." He exhaled. "And love. Lots of it." Caulifla's expression softened. "That part she already has." Riker reached toward the sky again, fingers brushing the sunlight as if feeling something in its warmth. A faint tremor rippled through the clearing. Very faint, but felt. Goku's eyes widened. He glanced at the mountains, the horizon, the distant clouds. "Did you feel that?" Caulifla stiffened. "Another messenger?" "No," Goku whispered. "It wasn't an intruder. It wasn't an angel. It wasn't the Grand Priest. It felt like someone breathing. Someone powerful. Someone far, far away. A being whose will had once shaken the arena of the gods, whose spirit refused every limit, whose presence weighed more than mountains. Goku had felt it only once before in battle. Jiren. He wasn't reaching for Raika. He wasn't searching for her. He wasn't aware of her. But somewhere in Universe 11, something inside him, buried beneath layers of silence and iron will, had stirred. A subconscious recognition, the echo of an echo. Caulifla sensed Goku's unease. "Tell me you're imagining it." Goku swallowed. "I don't think so." Raika's hand remained lifted toward the open sky, her tiny fingers curled inward towards something only she could sense. Then, without words, without key, her aura pulsed once. A whisper of acknowledgement. Not a call, not a reach. And somewhere far beyond mortal sight, a warrior's breath caught just slightly, as if something in the fabric of space had brushed against his spirit. Caulifla's voice trembled. "Goku? Is she connected to him already?" Goku looked at Reicha, the little girl who shouldn't have been able to stand yet, who shouldn't understand possibility, who shouldn't sense another universe. But she did, and her eyes, soft and silver, reflected a truth he didn't want to admit. She's not connected to him. Not yet. Caulifla exhaled shakily.
Relief and terror warred in her expression. Then what is she? Goku looked up at the sky, where Raika's hand still reached. The child of two universes, he said softly, and the first being to touch a future, even gods fear. Raika lowered her hand, placing it gently over her heart. The world grew quiet, too quiet. There in the silence, the future hummed, unstable, waiting, watching. And Raika whispered, half asleep, half awake, "Find me." Caulifla's blood ran cold. Who is she talking to? Goku already knew. The only other being who stands alone on his path. The wind shifted. The mountains trembled just slightly. A whisper from afar, a ripple through fate, a breath from Universe 11. The following days unfolded like a fragile dawn, light rising slowly, hesitantly, over a world that no longer trusted its own horizon. Goku and Caulifla did everything they could to pretend life was normal. They cooked breakfast, they argued about vegetables, they took Raika outside to feel the wind, the soil, the warmth of the sun on her small hands. They taught her words, simple ones. Sky, tree, home. They made her laugh. But beneath the simple motions of family life, the ground felt thin, as if one wrong step might reveal an abyss beneath it. Raika sensed it. She wasn't afraid. Fear required something solid to retreat from, and her world was always shifting, always branching, always alive with possibilities she was too young to name. But she felt the tension in her parents, felt the weight of their voices when they thought she wasn't listening, felt the strain in the air when the wind paused too long, and she responded the only way she could. She tried to be still. Stillness was hard. Her body wanted to move in two directions at once. Her senses stretched not outward, but sideways, into the narrow cracks between what would happen and what could. Most of the time, she didn't reach for anything. She simply listened. Listening hurt. Not in her body, but in the deep, quiet place behind her heartbeat where timelines whispered like distant waves. She didn't understand words yet, but she understood pressure. She didn't understand fate, but she understood choice. And one presence, faint, silent, distant, pulled at her in a way she couldn't ignore. Not like a voice, not like a call, more like an emptiness shaped like someone's will. Goku and Caulifla didn't see this. They only saw her struggle to focus on one thing at a time. Caulifla tried to teach her grounding through play. She dropped small pebbles in Raika's hands. Hold one, just one, not the whole world. But Raika always reached for the space around the pebble, its potential motion, the branches of what might happen if she squeezed, dropped, threw, or simply opened her fingers. Caulifla's patience frayed faster than she intended. Just pick one, baby. Pick the now.
Raika's lip quivered. Goku stepped in quickly. Caulifla, she's picking one. It's just not always the one we're in. Caulifla went silent. Guilt washed over her face. Raika climbed into her lap a moment later, tiny hands pressing against her mother's chest, heart to heart, as if to say, I am here, even if I am many. Caulifla crushed her into a protective embrace. I'm sorry, Raika. I'm trying. Raika leaned her head against her shoulder. The world steadied, for a moment. But stability was becoming rare, because something in Universe 11 had awakened. Not a threat, not a search, a ripple. Invisible to gods, unfelt by angels, unknown to mortals. A shift in the quiet breath of a silent warrior standing alone on a barren cliff. Jiren did not understand why the air felt heavier these last nights, why his meditations trembled at the edges, why his memories resurfaced like storms, why, without reason, his heart beat once with a strange weight, as if mirroring another heartbeat across creation. He ignored it. He always ignored such things. But the universe did not ignore him. nor did the thread that tied Raika's instinct to his path, thin as spider silk, fragile as first snow, yet unbroken. Here on Earth, the connection took form in so ways. Raika's eyes flickered violet whenever Jiren entered a deep state of focus. Her breathing slowed when he calmed his mind. Her aura trembled when he suppressed his ki. When he remembered loss, her chest tightened. When he let go of fear, her aura steadied. None of this was conscious, not for her, not for him. It was a path unfolding before either of them knew they were walking it. Goku felt the change before Caulifla did. He sensed Raika go still, too still during a late afternoon walk. She stared at the sky, her hair lifted by a wind that hadn't arrived yet. The shadows at her feet trembled slightly as though choosing a direction. Caulifla lifted her immediately. "What do you see?" Raika's eyes tracked something invisible, something far away, something pulling. Goku's breath hitched. This wasn't the gentle resonance from before. This felt like alignment, as if the universe were turning a dial, tuning her to a frequency she wasn't ready for. Goku placed his hand on her back. "Raika, stay with us, okay?" Her breathing slowed. Then, a flicker of violet, a tremor underfoot. The mountain shifted in the faintest whisper of echo, and Raika spoke a new word, soft, barely a breath. "Far." Caulifla's heart stuttered. "Far what? Far where?" Goku closed his eyes. He didn't need to ask. He knew. Raika wasn't just sensing the path anymore. She was beginning to see it. A path forged by a warrior alone. A path no god could walk. A path that shook the foundation of reality itself. A path meant for neither of them, yet one to which she was being drawn all the same. Goku exhaled slowly, bracing himself. "Caulifla," he whispered, "we need to tell Whis." The sky dimmed, as if agreeing. Raika's small hand curled into Goku's shirt. She whispered one more word. "Near." And the air around them tightened, as if the universe itself had turned its gaze toward their valley. The air pressed in around them, tightening like a fist made of silence. The sky above Mount Paou remained clear and blue, but it felt wrong, too blue, too clean, as if something had wiped the horizon and left it waiting for a new story to be written. Goku felt it first. Not ki, not divine presence, something deeper. A subtle weight sliding into place like a missing gear finally lining with the others. It wasn't Jiren. It wasn't the remnants. It wasn't the messenger of possibility. It was attention. The gaze of the multiverse.
"Caulifla," Goku said quietly. "Take her inside." Caulifla held Raika tighter. "If something's coming, I'm not hiding." "This isn't a fight," Goku murmured. "This is being watched, and I don't like it." Raika squinted at the sky, small brows furrowing as if she too felt the invisible stare pressing down. Her hand trembled, not with fear, but with instinct. The urge to answer, to reach, to find the source. Goku saw it. He moved quickly, placing his paw over hers. "Hey, stay here, with us. Don't reach back." Her breathing steadied. The pressure eased just barely. And then, with a familiar soft chime, space folded. Whis appeared in the clearing. No grand entrance, no swirling halo of light. He simply was there, staff in hand, face calm, eyes carrying the kind of weight that meant the universe had already had several conversations about them before this moment. Caulifla bristled immediately. "You again?" Whis bowed his head slightly. "Forgive the intrusion. I felt a tightening." Goku didn't waste time. She's feeling him more, Jiren, and something else is looking. Whis' eyes went to Raika. They always went to Raika first. Her aura flared when she saw him. Not wild, not unstable, just sharper. A thin line of silver that ran along the edges of her form, like an outline in a painting. Whis' lips pressed together. "The Grand Priest has noticed the anomaly." The words dropped like stones. Caulifla stepped forward, her aura twitching violently. "He's not taking her." Whis lifted his free hand, gentle but firm. "He has not decided anything, yet. He has only turned his attention." "That's already too much," she snapped. Whis' gaze softened. "Believe me when I say, I agree." That stunned them both into silence for a heartbeat. "You agree?" Goku asked.
Whis turned to the sky, watching nothing and everything at once. I have seen how the Grand Priest responds to beings who distort the architecture of reality. It is efficient, orderly, unforgiving. Goku's stomach nodded. You think he'll erase her? Whis shook his head. No. Erasure is for threats. She is not a threat. Then what is she? Caulifla demanded. Whis looked at Raika, and there was something almost fond in his eyes, a rare softness, reserved for very few. She is a question, he said quietly, and questions make those who built the system uneasy. Raika stared back at him, unblinking. The wind whispered through the trees. Whis, Goku said, the messenger told us her power will look for the strongest will in the multiverse, for balance, for an anchor. He swallowed. Is that really Jiren? Whis considered his answer carefully. Jiren is one possibility. He is the embodiment of anchored will, but there is another potential anchor the Grand Priest would prefer for her. Goku's jaw tightened. What anchor? Whis met his eyes. Divinity. The word felt wrong on the grass, wrong in the air, wrong in Goku's chest. Caulifla's aura spiked. No, she's not becoming a god. She's not becoming anything they want. Whis nodded slowly. I expected that answer, and it is why I have come, not with orders, but with the choice. He stepped closer, the rings around his neck chiming softly. Goku, Caulifla, you stand at the edge of a path that should not exist, one that leads towards a being who can override causality, not as a god, but as a mortal. The Grand Priest will not allow such a creature to remain unobserved, but if she ascends, even partially, her existence can be classified, contained, directed. Caulifla glared. You mean controlled? Whis did not deny it. Guided. Goku shook his head slowly. And if she doesn't ascend?
Whis glanced down at Raika, whose eyes were already beginning to drift, not away from them, but sideways, toward possibilities only she could see. Then reality will continue to strain around her, and eventually, something will break. The word hung there. Break. Not crack. Not bend. Break. Goku looked at his daughter, at the tiny fingers curled into Caulifla's shirt, at the way her aura fluttered when the wind shifted, like she was listening to worlds they couldn't hear. What are you really saying, Whis? He asked. Whis's voice lowered, gentler than Goku had ever heard it. I am saying that you must teach her not to walk the path that calls to her. The Jiren path? Caulifla asked. No. Whis shook his head. The path beyond him, the road that existed before gods and remnants, the road of pure choice, unchecked by consequence. Caulifla frowned. And how do we stop her from walking it? Whis exhaled softly. You underestimate what you are, what mortals are, what you can offer that we cannot. He looked up, beyond the sky, toward a realm no mortal eye could ever see. He looked up, beyond the sky, toward a realm no mortal eye could ever see. We can offer her structure, order, a place in the system. His eyes returned to Raika. You can offer her a reason not to abandon it. Raika, still in Caulifla's arms, slowly reached toward Goku with her free hand. He stepped forward without thinking, taking that tiny hand in his. Her aura eased. The pressure in the clearing dropped. Something in the air, something watching, seemed to withdraw a little, as if disappointed or intrigued. Whis's shoulders relaxed ever so slightly. Good. She responds to you first. That may be what saves her. From what? Goku asked. Whis didn't answer. Raika's eyes fluttered. A faint violet ring shimmered around her pupils, then faded into silver again. She whispered, almost inaudibly, Stay. Goku felt the word burrow into his chest. Yeah, he thought. We stay. All of us. Whis stepped back, staff glowing faintly. The Grand Priest will not move yet. There is still time. Use it wisely. For what? Caulifla shot back. Whis's smile turned almost sad. To make sure that when she touches the forbidden path, she chooses to turn back. The light around him brightened. Raika's hand tightened around Goku's fingers, as if to anchor herself, and just before Whis vanished, he whispered one last sentence,
so quiet it almost got lost in the hum of reality. Because if she does not, the path will walk her. And then he was gone. The clearing was empty, except for Goku, Caulifla, and a child whose instinct already brushed against the bones of the universe. Raika blinked slowly, and from somewhere deep inside her, something old and restless shifted. The shift inside Raika was small, so small Goku might have missed it if silence hadn't fallen so completely afterward. It wasn't power, it wasn't ki, it wasn't even instinct the way Whis described it. It felt like gravity, not pulling downward, but inward, as if Raika's tiny heart had become the center of a map no one had drawn yet. She blinked slowly, her lashes trembling. Caulifla felt it too. She hugged Raika close, as if by sheer force of love she could cage the unseen things stirring inside her daughter. Goku rested his hand on Caulifla's shoulder, grounding her, grounding himself. "We're here, Raika," he whispered. "With you." Her silver eyes drifted toward him. She leaned her forehead against his chest, listening again to the steadiness of his heartbeat, her anchor, the rhythm she kept returning to when the world stretched too wide. Caulifla breathed out shakily. "I swear, I'm going to tear apart every angel, god, and cosmic whatever if they try to take her." "No one's taken her," Goku murmured. "Whis didn't come to warn them. He came to warn us." "About what?" Caulifla snapped. "That our daughter exists wrong?"
Goku flinched. The words hurt more than any punch. No, that the universe doesn't know what to do with her yet. Caulifla's anger softened into exhaustion. She pressed her cheek against Raika's hair. "Then we'll teach the universe." Raika stirred. Her aura flickered, not violently this time, but like a candle trying to stay lit in a shifting breeze. She wriggled out of Caulifla's hold enough to look between them. Then she lifted both hands, touching Goku's face with one palm and Caulifla's with the other. The air steadied. Reality steadied. And for a moment, one clear crystalline moment, the world aligned around one certainty. To Raika, they were the center. Her path, her anchor, her choice. Goku felt the tension in his shoulders loosen. Caulifla's chest unwound with a shaky exhale. Raika smiled faintly, the fragile smile of a child who didn't yet understand her own vastness, but understood love perfectly. But moments like this were fragile, and they never lasted long. A rumble rolled through the mountain, not loud, not violent, but deep, like a sound too far away to hear fully, a memory of thunder rather than thunder itself. Goku's eyes shot toward the horizon. "That wasn't the earth," he whispered. Caulifla stiffened. "Jiren?" "No," Goku said slowly. "That wasn't him. That was something else, something closer." Raika's expression shifted, her tiny brows furrowed. She lifted her head toward the mountains, toward the source of the invisible tremor. "Far," she whispered. "Far where?" Caulifla asked. Raika turned her head, her tiny finger pointed toward a ridge shrouded in mist. "Near." Goku's heart stopped for a beat. Those two words didn't contradict each other. Raika wasn't giving distance. She was describing time. Far in the timeline, near in the moment. Goku felt cold sweat trail down his back. "Caulifla, someone's coming." Caulifla positioned herself between Raika and the ridge instantly. Let them try. Goku didn't move forward. He didn't power up. He didn't lower his stance. He listened. Something was breaking through the quiet of the day, like a footstep, but not one that touched earth. Like presence, but not ki, like a ripple moving backward through time, arriving before its cause. A branch snapped, wind shifted, leaves shivered, and then, from the edge of the mist, a silhouette emerged. Not tall, not cloaked, not divine. A child, barely older than Raika, white hair, eyes glowing faint blue, skin marked with faint geometric lines. Goku's breath hitched. Caulifla's aura exploded around her. Raika froze. The child stepped forward,
bare feet silent on the grass. Their expression was blank, not hostile, not frightened, just empty, as if they existed only half in this world. Caulifla snarled, lowering her stance. "Stay back." The child tilted their head, studying her like someone studying a reflection they don't understand yet. Goku whispered, "He's like the messenger." Caulifla's grip tightened. "He's not touching my daughter." The child blinked slowly. Then, in a voice that sounded like wind over glass, they spoke. "I walked the path she touched." Raika inhaled sharply. Her aura flared. The child's expression softened, barely, but unmistakably. "We were the same once." Caulifla's blood went cold. "What do you mean, were?" The child looked at Raika with an expression almost like sorrow. "I am what she becomes if she takes one step too far."
Goku's heart dropped into his stomach. Raika, trembling, reached her hand toward the stranger. The stranger reached back. Reality shivered between their fingers, a thin line of possibility trembling like a wire stretched too tight. Caulifla grabbed Raika's wrist, pulling her close. "Don't touch her!" The child lowered their hand. Their empty blue eyes met Goku's. "You must decide. Anchor her, or lose her to the path that unmade me." Raika whimpered softly. She wasn't afraid. She was remembering. Raika pressed herself against Caulifla's chest, her tiny fingers digging into the fabric of her mother's shirt, knuckles white with a tension she did not understand. Her silver eyes flickered like stormlight, confusion, recognition, fear, longing. The stranger child before them didn't move, didn't breathe loudly, didn't radiate ki. They simply were, and the world around them seemed to fold in quiet acknowledgement of that fact. Goku stepped forward, gently but firmly, placing himself between the child and his family. "Who are you?" His voice held no threat, only a heavy weight of knowing, because everything about the child's presence felt like an answer to a question he didn't want to ask. The child blinked once. Slowly. Their expression stayed soft, detached. "I had a name. Before I walked too far," they murmured. Their eyes drifted to Raika. "Before I became what the path makes of those who follow it alone." Caulifla growled low in her throat. "Stop talking in riddles. What are you to her?" The child looked down at their hands. Small hands, identical to any child's except for the faint glowing lines etched across their skin. "I am the echo of her possibility," they whispered. "I am what remains when a mind grows faster than a heart." Goku felt the ground steady, as if daring itself not to break. The air around Raika pulsed again, 2 beats of aura, soft as breaths, but enough to stir the leaves around her feet. Goku swallowed hard. Did the Grand Priest send you?" "No." The child shook their head. "He fears what I am. He hides from what I became. He tries to erase the path, but the path is older than him, older than angels." Caulifla's voice was a whisper of fury. "Then why are you here? To scare her? To scare us?" The child lifted their head. Their eyes glowed brighter, but not with malice, with memory. "I came," they said softly, "to warn her, because no one warned me." Raika trembled. Something deep in her aura stirred, like a shadow rising behind light. Not darkness, not evil, potential. Raw, unanchored, infinite. The child took one slow step closer. Goku and Caulifla tensed instantly, aura flaring, ki instinctively wrapping around Raika in a protective cocoon. The child paused, unthreatened. "I was born in another timeline. Not a Saiyan, not divine, just chosen by the path. It calls to those who carry too many worlds inside them, those who feel time like wind, those who hear possibilities before words." Raika lifted her head. A soft, broken whisper escaped her lips. "Same." It destroyed Caulifla. "Stop! Stop talking to her like you know her! You're nothing to her." The child bowed their head. "I know. I am nothing now.
That is why I came. To keep her from becoming nothing, too.
Goku's chest tightened. Tell us how. The child's eyes met his with unnatural intensity for someone so young. She must not reach for the moment where Jiren stands alone. What moment? Goku asked. The moment he breaks, the child whispered. Silence slammed down over the mountain. Goku felt his pulse throb in his ears. Jiren breaks? Yes, the child's aura flickered like a dying star. Every will, no matter how strong, has one point where it shatters. When he reaches that moment, she will feel it, and she will follow, and the path will open. Caulifla shook her head violently. No, she has us. She won't follow anything or anyone but us. The child's gaze softened with a kindness that hurt. You believe that now. Reika reached out again, toward them, toward the child, toward something she didn't have words for. And that was when the air changed again. Not with ki, not with the universe's gaze, with time. The wind stopped. The leaves froze mid-tremble. The world dimmed, not darker, but flatter, like someone had lowered the brightness on existence. Goku spun toward the ridge. Someone else is coming. The child nodded once, expression turning grim. I had to speak quickly. He does not like when timelines warn themselves. He? Caulifla snarled. The mist rippled. A tall silhouette stepped through. A figure draped in quiet, carrying no ki, no aura, no sound. A man with eyes as pale as dawn and hair the color of untouched snow. His presence wasn't divine or mortal, it was correction, a thing made to remove errors. The child stepped back, trembling. No, they whispered. He followed me. Goku felt his gut twist. Who is he? The child's voice cracked. The Warden of Paths. The figure stepped forward, eyes empty of judgment or mercy. His voice drifted out, soft as falling ash. You do not warn the past. The child fell to their knees, shaking. Raika gasped. Caulifla roared, stepping forward to shield her daughter. The warden raised his hand. Reality strained, cracked, and the child whispered one last thing before the world split around them. Anchor her before he does. Raika screamed. Her aura burst. The mountain shook. Raika's scream wasn't loud, she was too small for that, but the effect of it tore across the clearing like a blade made of pressure and light. The ground trembled, the leaves that clung to the mountainside ripped apart as if slashed by invisible claws. Even the air recoiled, folding backward on itself in a moment of pure primal fear. Caulifla held Raika close, shielding her with her entire body. Goku stepped in front of them, fists clenched, body trembling, not with power, but with the raw instinct of a father who had run out of patience for the cosmic games being played around his family. The warden didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't breathe. He simply was, as if the universe had carved a hollow shape for him and filled it with inevitability. You arrived too early, he said, voice flat, almost bored. This timeline is not prepared for divergence. Goku's breath burned in his lungs. She's not hurting anyone. The warden tilted his head slightly. Not yet. Caulifla snarled like an animal. Come near her and I swear, you cannot swear against inevitability. I am not here to harm the child. I am here to remove the interference. His gaze shifted to the stranger child, small, trembling, glowing faintly with the dim blue of a dying star. No, the child whispered. Please, not again. Goku stepped between them. Back off! The warden's eyes flattened. You misunderstand your role, Son Goku. You are incidental. Caulifla hissed. The hell he is. The warden raised his hand. Reality answered. A vertical seam split the air, clean, silent, as though someone had simply unzipped existence. Through the seam, Goku glimpsed something that wasn't a place or a dimension. It was absence, a place where paths went when they were no longer allowed to be walked. The child tried to stand, but their legs buckled. The glowing lines across their skin flickered desperately. I warned her, they gasped. I warned them. Let me go back. You were never meant to exist,
the warden said. Correction begins with you. Raika stopped screaming. She went silent, far too silent. Goku glanced back and saw her staring at the warden with a look no child should ever wear. A look ancient and quiet, filled with silver light and infinite comprehension. Caulifla felt it and held Raika tighter. Baby, stay with us. Stay here. Raika's eyes glowed. Not silver, not violet. Something in between, a trembling, unstable shimmer like two colors arguing for dominance. The warden's gaze snapped toward her. That, he said, is why she must be contained early. Goku's aura erupted in a flash of golden fire, instinct taking over. You're not touching her! The warden didn't raise a guard. He didn't prepare a stance. He merely placed two fingers against the air. Goku's punch stopped inches from his face, suspended as if caught in amber. Space around Goku distorted, warping like heat haze. Caulifla lunged. With one lazy gesture, the warden trapped her in the same invisible freeze. Her movement locked, her breath caught halfway through a curse. Raika blinked. The glow in her eyes sharpened. The warden's posture shifted, ever so slightly. The resonance begins sooner than predicted. Raika reached out a hand toward him. Goku felt the air buckle, the invisible freeze tremble, the ground cracked beneath their feet. Something in Raika's tiny palm gleamed, a fragment of instinct, older than gods, older than angels, older than the architecture of time itself. Raika, Goku choked. No, don't reach! She wasn't reaching for the warden. She was reaching through him. Her aura, unstable and silver violet, licked at the edges of the warden's form, bending light, bending space, bending the rules he had come to enforce. For the first time, the warden reacted. He stepped backward. His voice carried a flicker of something that did not belong in him. Uncertainty. The child is already entangled with the path. Raika's small voice came out as a whisper, not frightened, not angry. Mine. The warden froze. She recognizes ownership, a claim on possibility. That is unacceptable. The stranger child, still trembling on the grass, forced themselves upright enough to face Raika. Don't walk it! Don't follow me! Raika blinked. Her aura quieted. The silver-violet glow dimmed as she looked from the warden to the trembling child to her parents frozen in stasis. She reached toward Goku and Caulifla. Her fingers brushed their arms. The stasis shattered like glass. Goku gasped, stumbling forward. Caulifla collapsed to her knees, grabbing Raika and pulling her in so tightly as if she could hold her daughter inside her own heartbeat. Raika leaned into her mother's shoulder, breathing unevenly, overwhelmed.
The warden lowered his hand. Unexpected, he murmured. She rejects the path for now. Goku roared, aura flaring gold. If you come back, you misunderstand, the warden said. I do not choose the timing. When the path calls again, I will return. He looked down at the trembling stranger child, and you will be erased. The child closed their eyes. Raika whimpered, soft, heartbroken. Goku stepped forward. No. The warden turned his head curious. No? You're not erasing anyone. Goku's voice carried a weight it rarely did, a father's certainty. Caulifla's aura flared violently. Touch them, and I swear I'll tear your path apart. The warden paused. For the first time, he looked thoughtful. I see. The anchor strengthens. His form blurred. Reality stitched itself closed behind him, and he was gone. The air returned. Time returned. The wind breathed again. Goku rushed to the stranger child, catching them before they collapsed. Raika reached out a tiny hand toward them, worried, sad, connected. The child smiled weakly. She chose you first. That means she has a future. Goku held them gently. We'll protect you too. The child shook their head faintly. I'm already fading. This timeline never wanted me, but I accomplished what I came to do. They looked at Raika for last time, eyes soft, full of tragic understanding. You don't have to become me. And like a breath blown out by the universe itself, the child dissolved into shimmering dust, gone without pain, without sound, without a single trace left behind. Raika buried her face in Caulifla's neck and began to cry. The mountain was silent. Too silent. Goku closed his eyes, heart twisting. The path had shown us its first consequence and its first sacrifice. For a long time after the stranger child vanished, the dust of their existence lingered in Goku's memory more than in the air. Sometimes at night, when even the insects fell silent and the mountain breathed softly in its sleep, Goku thought he could still see fragments of that fading light drifting between the trees, like echoes of someone who never truly belonged to this world. The warning they left behind stayed sharper than any scar. You don't have to become me. Raika did not remember the visitor the way adults did, not in words, not in sentences, not in cause and effect. She remembered them in feeling. A hollow weight, a loneliness shaped like a person, a future she did not want to wear. For days she woke from naps with wet cheeks and no sound in her throat. Caulifla would hold her until the shaking stopped, whispering half threats, half prayers against every god and ghost that dared to touch her child's mind. Goku watched, heart breaking a little more each time. They could not erase what Raika had seen, but they could build something around it. So, they began her training. Not with punches, not with beams, not with gravity chambers or screaming ascensions, with breathing. Feel here, Goku said one quiet afternoon, tapping gently over her chest. Raika, now older, small but sturdy, a little taller, hair longer and wilder, pressed her palm there, eyes half-lidded. This is your center. No matter what you hear, no matter what you feel, you always come back here first. They sat by the river, the water moving peacefully over stone. Raika listened to it, eyes reflecting the current. She could feel time the way others felt wind, a constant, invisible motion. But when she focused on her heartbeat, the noise quieted. 1, 2, 3. Raika counted along in a small voice. The future didn't disappear, but it faded into the background like distant music. Caulifla's training was different. She did not speak of breath or serenity. She spoke of choices. They stood on a cliffside path where two trails diverged, one steep and rocky, the other winding and smooth. Which way? Caulifla asked. Raika squinted at the paths. She did not see dirt and stone. She saw glimpses of herself running, tripping, climbing, falling. The steep path flashed images of scraped knees and burning muscles. The smooth path flashed comfort and ease. Both, Raika said. Caulifla shook her head. No, you get one. Raika fawned. But I see both. I know, Caulifla crouched in front of her, resting hands on her shoulders. But you don't live both. You can't live in all the maybes forever. One body, one road, one now. You understand? Raika looked uneasy. The idea felt wrong, like telling a river it had to pretend it was only one drop of water. But then Caulifla said something that pierced deeper than the lesson. If you try to walk all paths, you'll walk none with us. Raika's heart clenched. Us, she whispered. Caulifla nodded. Yeah, me, your dad, this world, this life. You choose us, or you drift. And if you drift, someone else, something else, will try to catch you. The path, the warden, the whatever that white-haired creep was tied to. She forced a smirk she didn't feel. You want to end up like him? Or like that kid who disappeared? Raika's throat tightened. No, Caulifla said softly. Then choose. Raika looked at the paths again. The steep one hurt when she stared at it. Not in her body, but in her sense of time. She saw herself struggle, fail, get back up, over and over, painful, imperfect. The smooth one was easy. For the first time, Raika understood something. Easy
wasn't always true. She took the steep path. Each step scraped, each rock bit into her feet. She tripped once, twice. Her hands stung, her knees ached, tears threatened to form. But every time she wobbled, she didn't reach for the future. She reached for her center, her heartbeat, her breath, her mother's presence. By the time she reached the top of the path, she was panting, sweat sticking hair to her forehead. But something inside her felt solid. Caulifla reached the top behind her, hands in her pockets, pretending not to be proud. "So, what'd you learn?" Raika swallowed. I can hurt and still be here." Caulifla's chest tightened. "Yeah, that's right." Days became weeks. Weeks slipped toward years. Raika grew, her body, her mind, her ki. The sparks of forbidden instinct matured, no longer exploding outward in controlled pulses, but circling her like wary birds that had learned the shape of her hands. She still sensed branches of possibility. She still heard the whispers of futures that never were, but now, instead of leaping into them, she let them pass like clouds. Sometimes one would tempt her, the path where she dodged perfectly, where she never stumbled, never failed, never cried, the road where she never made mistakes. Those paths felt hollow now, because they had no weight, no feeling, no laughter after pain, no arms catching her when she fell. She chose the paths with them, always with them. Yet even as she grew stronger, calmer, more grounded, the resonance remained. Sometimes as she meditated by the river, her breath aligning with the flow, she would feel him again. Far. Near. Jiren's spirit unyielding as ever, standing alone beneath foreign stars, carrying a burden only his will could support. Raika did not reach for him. She honored his path by staying on hers. But the connection never fully left.
With every year she contained the forbidden instinct. The universe grew more restless around her. The remnants beneath the mountain hummed in their sleep. Angels watched in silence. The grand priest's attention brushed her fate like a fingertip against glass, testing for cracks. And somewhere in Universe 11, something was changing. Something in Jiren, a fracture forming, a moment approaching, the moment the messenger had warned them about. The moment when even unbreakable will would strain. The moment Raika would feel like a scream in her own bones. The moment where her path, anchored or not, would be tested. She did not know when it would come. She only knew this: when it did, she would have to choose between the path that called her and the world that held her. One night, as the stars turned slowly overhead, Raika stood outside alone, older now, no longer a toddler, not yet an adult. Her ki moved gently around her, soft and precise. Goku and Caulifla watched from the doorway, quietly, letting her stand in that fragile space between childhood and destiny. Raika closed her eyes. Far away, something in the fabric of reality trembled. A breath, a crack, a beginning of an end. Her heart beat once, twice. The sky seemed to bend. "It's close," she whispered. Goku's throat went dry. "What is?" Raika opened her eyes. They glowed softly. "The moment where he breaks, and where I decide if I follow." The wind went still. Her words hung between them like a sword suspended on an unseen string. The night did not react to her words. No thunder cracked, no divine omen split the sky. The wind simply circled her slowly, carrying the quiet scent of pine and river water. But Goku felt something shift. Inside the world, inside Raika, inside himself. Caulifla stepped out beside them, arms folded tightly, as if bracing her body against a cold that had nothing to do with the air. She could feel it too, the same tension she felt the day Whis appeared, the day the stranger child warned them, the day the warden arrived to correct a future that had not yet begun. A tension like the universe holding a breath. Raika lowered her gaze to her hands. They looked small, harmless, though faint lights flickered beneath the skin. Subtle, shimmering lines that moved like living ink. Not remnants, not godhood, not Saiyan transformation. Something else. Something born from collision. Universe 6 instinct. Universe 7 lineage. Cosmic interference. Forbidden resonance. Something destined to become itself. Goku stepped beside her.
Tell us what you're feeling, he said gently. Raika opened her fingers. A thin thread of ki lifted into the air, dancing like a silver ribbon. It's not calling me. Not like before, her voice trembled, but it's near enough to hear it. Breathing. Caulifla swallowed hard. The path? Raika shook her head. No, him. Goku felt a chill run through him. Jiren. Raika nodded, pressing her palms together, tightly, as if trying to contain the sensation inside her ribs. His will is cracking, just a little, like a stone being forced to carry something too heavy. It hasn't broken yet, but he's close. Goku closed his eyes, imagining Jiren alone under unfamiliar stars, training or meditating or fighting. Whatever he was doing, it was pushing him past the limits even God struggled to comprehend. Is he in danger? He asked. Raika hesitated. Her instinct saw not events, but pressure, threads of possible roads, vibrating under strain. He's not dying, she whispered, but he's choosing something painful. Caulifla stepped closer, kneeling until she was level with Raika's eyes. Listen, she said softly, cupping Raika's cheeks. Whatever he's doing, it's his, just like your path is yours. You don't follow him. Raika's voice wavered. I know.
Say it again. I know. Caulifla shook her head. No, louder. I know. Caulifla pulled her into a fierce hug. Goku felt his throat tighten. Good, Caulifla said, voice trembling. Because that's how we keep you here, with us, in this world. Raika exhaled shakily, burying herself in her mother's warmth for a moment before pulling away. I'll stay, she whispered, but the universe might not. Goku frowned. What do you mean? Raika turned toward the horizon. The air shifted around her, a low hum like distant thunder. Something else is moving. Not Jiren, not the warden, something behind them, or above them. She hugged herself. A boundary is stretching. Goku and Caulifla exchanged a worried glance. Do you see it clearly? Goku asked. Raika shook her head. Not yet. It's like when you close your eyes and see light through your eyelids. It's there, but not shaped yet. Caulifla gritted her teeth. If the Grand Priest's poking around. Raika's reaction stopped her. A shudder. A flicker across her aura. A moment of intense disorientation. It's not him, Raika whispered. Goku's blood ran cold. Then who? Raika lifted a trembling finger toward the sky, not at the moon, not at the stars, but at the vast darkness between them. There's a place, she said softly, outside the angels and gods, outside the universes, a place where the paths go when they're not walked anymore. The warden's realm. Forgotten, unseen, erased. Goku clenched his fists. Is he coming back? Raika shook her head again. Not yet, but something he serves is waking. The night air dimmed, as if shadows thickened without source. Caulifla flared her aura instinctively, enveloping Raika in heat and light. We're not letting anything take you. Raika didn't move. Her eyes were on the sky, but her fear wasn't directed upward. It was directed inward. When Jiren breaks, the boundary between the path and the real world will thin, and then that place will notice me again. Goku's heart twisted. Then we don't let him break. Raika shook her head. He has to. Why? Caulifla demanded. Raika hesitated. Because it's his moment, his trial, his mountain. If you stop someone from breaking, you steal the thing that makes them whole again. The words were too old for her mouth. Too large. Caulifla felt sick. And your trial? Raika lifted her head, expression steady despite the tremor in her aura. Choosing not to follow him when I feel him shatter. The wind stilled. A leaf turned unnaturally in midair, suspended. The sky flickered. Raika inhaled sharply. It's starting. Goku's pulse spiked. Already? Raika nodded, tears filling her eyes from the sheer pressure of it. He's fighting something. Something that believes in nothing but obliteration. He's alone, and he's... She gasped. Her knees buckled. Goku caught her instantly. Raika! Caulifla wrapped her arms around her. Stay with us, baby. Stay right here. Raika clung to them both, shaking violently as if her heart were being tugged toward a collapsing star. It's breaking. It hurts. It feels like I'm standing at the edge of every path I could take, all at once. Don't you move, Caulifla breathed. Don't you dare move. Raika sobbed, not from fear, but from the unbearable weight of connection, of witnessing something she had never asked to feel. Goku placed his forehead against hers. Stay anchored. Stay with us. Stay here.
Raika cried, voice cracking. I'm trying! The world blurred, the horizon bent, possibilities screamed like wind through shattered stone. And Raika, trembling, panting, held herself between two truths, the path that called her and the arms that held her. The world did not tear open, not yet. But it strained, like a great drum pulled too tight, every fiber trembling on the edge of rupture. The stars shivered, the trees bent toward nothing. The night thinned until Raika could see the outline of time itself flickering like a ghost behind the dark. And through that fragile veil, she felt him. Jiren. Not his power, not his ki, not his body. His will. A will that had carried lifetimes of solitude, endless training, battles no one ever saw. A will that had survived after everything else in him had shattered long ago. For the first time in his existence, that will faltered. Raika screamed, not with voice but with instinct. Her aura detonated outward in silver-violet rings, bending the grass flat, carving shallow grooves in the dirt. Caulifla tightened her hold, grounding her with raw love and fear. Raika! She cried, look at us! Look at me! Keep your eyes right here! But Raika's gaze was unfocused, pupils dilating and contracting as she saw not one world, but many, fractured timelines blooming and dying in her mind, all variations of Jiren's moment. Goku pressed his hands to hers. His skin burned under her ki, but he didn't pull away. Stay anchored! Stay with us! Feel your heartbeat! Raika gasped, shaking violently. He's alone! He's... Her voice broke. Her aura surged again. Caulifla shouted over the roar of ki. Then let him be alone! It's his choice, his moment! You don't follow! I'm not trying to! Raika cried. It's pulling me! Mom, it's pulling! A shockwave hit the mountain, silent but violent, like the air itself recoiled. Raika's body arched, her face contorted in pain. Caulifla felt her heart split. Baby, stay here! Stay here! Raika's voice twisted through her sobs. I don't want to leave! I don't want to leave you! I don't... Goku cupped her cheeks. Then stay. Fight it. I can't. Yes, Goku whispered fiercely. You can, because you're ours. The silver-violet aura flickered, guttering like a candle in wind. Raika's blood came in sharp, rapid bursts. Sweat dripped down her temples, catching the glow of her unstable ki. Inside her mind, the vision sharpened. Jiren, kneeling, one fist pressed to the ground, a crater beneath him, a shadow towering over him, featureless, merciless, radiating annihilation. And for the first time in his unbreakable life, Jiren bent. Raika choked on a sob. He's going to break, she whispered. I can feel it. I can feel his will cracking. If he breaks, the path opens. It opens through me. Goku's voice tore itself raw. Then close it, Raika. Close it. I'm trying. Caulifla grabbed her face, forcing Raika to meet her eyes. Listen to me. That path, that power, that future, it doesn't own you. You choose. You hear me? Raika's eyes trembled. Mom, I'm scared. I know. So stay scared with us, not with him, not with that world. Here, in this one. Raika sobbed harder. The ground pulsed beneath them. The horizon wavered. She felt Jiren's will shatter. Not like glass, like stone pushed past its limit. Cracking in jagged lines, releasing everything held inside for too long.
The universe heard it,
So did the path. And so did Reicha. The pull hit her like a tidal wave. She screamed. Her aura exploded outward. Silver-violet lightning tore through the clearing. Time spiderwebbed around them. And for a fraction of a second, reality lost its grip on her. Reicha's body jerked forward. Her ki stretched upward, drawn like a thread into a vacuum. Her feet lifted from the ground. "No!" Caulifla shrieked, claws of ki gripping her daughter's waist. Goku grabbed Reicha's hands. "Stay with us." Reicha's eyes glowed fully now. No silver, no violet, just raw resonance, the color of possibility before it chooses a shape. I don't want to go," she cried. "Then don't!" Caulifla roared, pouring her entire being into holding her daughter down, veins bulging, aura flaring crimson. "Choose us!" Reicha's heartbeat thundered in her ears. 1 beat. 2. 3. Her breath hitched, and somewhere in that drowning cacophony of visions and possibilities and collapsing will, she found it. Her center. The steady pulse her father had taught her to hear. The singular path her mother forced her to choose. The world that held her. The arms that anchored her. Reicha's aura snapped violently, and the pull broke. Like a cord cut, like a door slamming, like a scream silenced. Reicha collapsed forward into Goku's arms, sobbing into his chest as the night abruptly went quiet again. Too quiet, eerily still, as if the world itself was stunned. Caulifla fell beside them, arms shaking, pulling Reicha into a fierce embrace. "You stayed," she whispered, half breaking into tears herself. "You stayed with us." Reicha clung to them both. I tried, she whimpered. "I didn't want to follow." Goku kissed the top of her head. "You didn't. You chose. That's what matters." But even as he said it, he felt something wrong. Like a storm waiting beyond the horizon. Like a decision the universe hadn't accepted. And Reicha felt it too. She wiped her eyes, trembling, and whispered, "He knows." Goku stiffened. "Who?" Reicha's voice cracked. The warden and the thing behind him. She shivered. "They felt me break the pull." The wind died. The stars dimmed. And Reicha whispered, barely audible, "They're coming." The night folded in on itself. Not violently, not loudly, but with a slow, deliberate tightening. Like the world was exhaling and did not intend to inhale again until Reicha answered for what she had just done. Goku and Caulifla held her so tightly it felt as if their arms were the only real thing left in a dissolving world. Reicha clung to them, trembling, breath shaky, aura dimming into small flickers around her shoulders. The pull toward the forbidden path was gone, cut clean, but the echo of it throbbed through her bones, still resonating with the moment she refused to follow Jiren's collapse. Goku brushed her hair back, searching her eyes. "Reicha, what do you feel now?" Her voice was small, cracked. "The world. Listening." Caulifla gritted her teeth. "Let it listen, I'll break its damn ears." But Reicha shook her head, fear curling her shoulders inward. Not the world, something outside it. Goku's stomach dropped. Caulifla stiffened, already stepping in front of Reicha as if she could punch the sky in half. "If it's him, if that warden freak comes back." Reicha's eyes widened. "It's not just him." And the night answered.
The stars blinked out, not one by one, all at once, as if a massive shadow passed over the entire heavens. Goku rose to his feet, pulling Reicha up with him, body coiled, instinct screaming. Cauliflower's aura burst into life beside him, crimson fire slicing through the dark, the only source of light left in the clearing. Then, a hum. Low. Subsonic. So deep it resonated in bone, not ear. Reicha flinched, gripping Goku's arm. "That's it," she whispered. "That's what watches the paths." Goku swallowed, bracing himself. "Where is it?" Reicha pointed upward, her finger trembled. And then slowly, impossibly, a shape lowered from the darkness overhead. Not a person, not a creature, not a god.
A break in reality. A vertical tear in the fabric of the night sky, edges glowing with pale, cold light. The tear widened, soundless, like an eye opening, and through it stepped a figure taller than Whis, taller than the Grand Priest, tall enough that the tree shrank under his presence. He walked calmly, each footstep soft, controlled. No key, no aura, no divine pressure. Just a presence that made existence tighten in self-defense. His eyes were empty rings of pale light, his body draped in robes that looked woven from the absence of time. Symbols stitched across his chest shimmered like broken constellations. Raika gasped. The Keeper. Goku slipped into a guarded stance. Who? Raika's voice shook. The one the warden serves. Caulifla spat on the ground. Then I'll beat him first! But the Keeper did not look at her. He looked at Raika. Directly, calmly, as if he were a page he intended to read. He spoke, and his voice was neither loud nor soft, just true, like a statement reality couldn't refuse. You severed the resonance. Caulifla stepped forward, snarling. She made a choice. Deal with it. The Keeper's expression did not change. Choice is irrelevant. Correction is absolute. Goku's heart pounded. You're not taking her. The Keeper blinked, slow, like the blink of a statue imagining movement. I cannot take her. She is not an anomaly to remove. She is an anomaly to define. Raika's breath hitched. What do you want? The Keeper extended a hand, not threatening, but inexorable. To understand your divergence, to measure the consequence of a path refused. Goku moved instantly, stepping between them. You're not touching her! The Keeper lowered his hand. He did not argue. He did not threaten. He simply pointed at Raika, and the world broke. Grass flattened, soil cracked, time rippled outward from her feet like rings spreading through water. Raika screamed, collapsing to her knees as currents of possibility burst around her, visions she did not choose, futures she refused to walk, alternate selves she had denied. Goku grabbed her shoulders. Caulifla held her face. What's happening? Caulifla shouted. Raika sobbed through clenched teeth. He's showing me everything I didn't choose, every path the resonance wanted, everything I could have become. The Keeper's voice cut through her cry. A choice made must be measured. Goku roared, aura exploding into gold and inferno. Stop it! He charged. The Keeper didn't move.
Reality did. A small circle of space around Goku tilted, like gravity briefly forgot its orientation. Goku stumbled sideways, his punch slipping harmlessly through the air inches from the Keeper's chest. Caulifla lunged with a scream of fury. The air in front of her hardened like invisible stone, slamming her backward into Goku's arms. The Keeper looked down at Raika, who was shaking violently under the weight of infinite might-have-beens. Each denied path, he said, is a wound in the fabric. Each wound must be healed. Raika lifted her head, tears streaking her cheeks, voice shattered. I said no. The Keeper nodded. Correct. And now the world must align around your refusal. What does that mean? Caulifla roared. The Keeper finally looked at her. It means her choice has consequences. His eyes dimmed into deeper cold. For all universes. Raika's aura flickered wildly, sparking silver, violet, and something new, a third shade, undefined. The Keeper lowered one hand, not toward Raika, toward the ground, toward the universe. The balance must shift, he said, to accommodate the fate that chose itself. The earth trembled. Raika screamed again, A pulse of silver light burst from her, and somewhere across the multiverse, a wall between destinies shattered. The pulse of silver light did not fade, it echoed. Like a bell struck at the center of all timelines, its soundless resonance rippled outward into infinities. Mountains bowed under it, oceans shuddered, stars flickered. Across universes, beings who normally felt nothing beyond their realms, Kaioshin, destroyers, angels, lifted their heads at once as if a cold wind had brushed the back of their minds. Something had shifted. Something young. Something powerful. Something decided. Raika screamed again as the light tore through her, not ripping flesh or bone, but the invisible threads that tied her to futures she had never walked. Goku held her trembling shoulders. Cauliflower pressed her forehead to Raika's, gritting her teeth hard enough to draw blood. "Stay with us," Cauliflower whispered. "I don't care what he shows you. Stay right here with us." "I'm trying," Raika cried, voice breaking. "Mom, Dad, I'm trying." The visions came faster now, a version of Raika standing in a void of broken stars, cloak billowing, eyes cold and ancient. Another one kneeling before the warden, her aura shaped into chains. One fighting Goku in a wasteland of glass. One fighting beside Jiren back to back, universe burning around them. One collapsing alone on a cracked path, whispering an apology no one heard. All the selves she refused. All the destinies she denied, all of them screaming as the Keeper forced her to witness the cost of choosing one existence over an infinite number. Goku snarled, his aura erupting into silver-streaked white, the shape of ultra instinct trying to bloom under raw emotion. "Enough! If you won't stop, then I will!" He lunged again. This time he moved faster than before, faster than emotion, faster than fear, but the Keeper simply tilted two fingers. Space twisted, Goku vanished, and reappeared behind Raika, stumbling, the world spinning around him. Cauliflower roared, leaping with a crimson nova around her fists. The air thickened, liquid, slowing her to a crawl. She cursed through gritted teeth and still forced her body forward inch by inch. The Keeper did not even turn. He did not defend. He only spoke.
A self that rejects destiny weakens the lattice. Caulifla spat back. "Screw your lattice. She gets to choose." The Keeper's gaze shifted down to Raika, whose aura flickered erratically, threatening to rupture. This world must adjust or collapse. Raika's eyes widened in terror. Collapse? The Keeper nodded once. Without correction, the imbalance will feed on itself. Possibility will unravel. His voice was unnervingly calm. "You have created a paradox. A being meant to follow all paths has chosen one. The universe must compensate." Goku staggered upright, fury burning in his silver glow. "Then let it. We'll fix whatever comes, but you're not hurting her to clean up a mess she didn't ask for." The Keeper's expression shifted, just barely, tilting into something like curiosity. "She was born with resonance." His hands lowered. "She is the first to refuse its resonance." His eyes dimmed. "The universe adjusts to strength, not weakness." Raika's breath trembled. "What does that mean?" "It means your choice is not a flaw." The Keeper raised his palm. "It is a force." The ground cracked beneath Raika as a circle of glowing silver etched itself around her, a symbol she had never seen but somehow understood, as if her heart remembered it from a life she never lived. Caulifla lunged again. "Get away from her!" The Keeper finally turned his head in her direction. Just a look. Caulifla froze midair as if a mountain had been dropped on her. Knees buckling, aura flickering, breath crushed from her lungs. Goku caught her before she hit the ground. Caulifla. She gritted her teeth. "I'm fine, go to her!"
But he couldn't. The symbol around Reicha pulsed, forming a barrier that bent space itself. Even ultra instinct could not slip through it. Reicha fell to her hands and knees inside the circle. "Mom, Dad, help me, please!" The keeper extended his palm toward her chest. "This is not harm. This is definition." A beam of soft white light formed, gentle but absolute. "No!" Goku roared. "Raika!" Caulifla slammed her fists into the barrier, cracking it with sheer maternal fury. "Fight it, Raika! You hear me? Fight it!" The beam touched Raika's chest. Not hot, not cold, just inevitable. Her aura ignited at once, silver and violet blasting outward, forming a column of light that pierced the heavens. She screamed, but not in pain, in becoming. The keeper stepped back, watching. Goku stared in horror. "What are you doing to her?" The keeper answered without emotion. "I am allowing her to exist." Raika's aura surged again, brighter, higher, sharper. And then her eyes opened, both glowing white, both burning with a quiet, fierce resolve, both different. She rose to her feet slowly, hair lifting in the radiant storm around her. The air trembled, the earth bowed. She looked at the keeper and said, voice steady, "I've seen the paths. I've seen what she wanted. I've seen what I refused." The keeper inclined his head. "And now?" Reicha stepped forward. "I choose this one." The universe quivered. The keeper's robes fluttered in a wind not from this world. "And I," Reicha said softly, her aura expanding into a new shape, "defend it."
The keeper's eyes narrowed. For the first time, he felt something like caution. A faint smile tugged Reicha's lips. "It's my life, my fate, and I'm done being measured." The stars flickered back into the sky, the air steadied, the universe held its breath. Something new was awakening. The night steadied around her. Not peacefully, nothing about Reicha's awakening was peaceful, but with a tense, reverent stillness, as if existence itself leaned closer, trying to understand what she had become or what she had just decided to be. Reicha stood within the glowing circle the keeper had carved into the earth, its lines cracked and dimmed, unable to contain her anymore. Her aura spiraled upward, silver threaded with violet, and at its core, a third color no one had ever seen. Not divine, not mortal, something that hummed between the two like a chord struck too perfectly to classify. Goku stared, breath caught in his chest. "Raika!" Caulifla wiped blood from her lip, eyes wide but blazing with pride. "That's my girl!" The keeper observed her without stepping back, but his hands folded behind his back with new calculation. For the first time since he arrived, he no longer appeared certain. Reicha lifted her chin. "You said the universe had to adjust." "Yes." The keeper's voice was calm, but thinner now, more inquiry, the synergetic lattice. Reicha stepped out of the broken circle. The grass beneath her feet shimmered silver at every step. "Then let it realign around me, not the other way around." The keeper tilted his head slightly. "And if your chosen path destabilizes reality?" Reicha's aura pulsed. "Then reality needs to evolve." The wind snapped outward as if slapped by her words. Goku placed a hand over his chest, feeling the pressure of her ki, sharp, unwavering, terrifyingly focused. This was not a transformation like a Super Saiyan or the flicker of divine instinct. This was something born from refusal, from identity, from the raw, violent act of choosing one life over infinite others. Caulifla smirked despite the fear trembling under her skin. "That's my girl." The keeper blinked once, slow, analyzing. "You misunderstand, Reicha. This is not about your individuality.
It is about cosmic integrity. Raika walked closer, aura brushing against him like static. You talk about integrity, but what you want isn't order, it's obedience. The keeper's eyes narrowed, pale rings dimming. All beings obey the path that birthed them. Destinies unfold as they must. A resonance born who refuses resonance cannot exist without consequence. Raika stood inches from him now, small compared to his towering frame, but her presence cracked the air. Then I'll bear the consequences. She said it quietly, but her voice filled the clearing like a vow hammered onto an anvil. A silence fell so dense, even the trees seemed afraid to rustle. The keeper's expression finally shifted. Not anger, not frustration, but astonishment. You would burden infinite outcomes for a single personal choice? Raika met his gaze without flinching. Isn't that what every living being does? Every choice ripples, every decision costs. That's what being alive means. Goku exhaled shakily. He felt tears burn the corners of his eyes. Pride and fear knotted in his throat.
Caulifla whispered, "You tell him, baby." The keeper looked down at Raika, as if seeing her clearly for the first time, not as an error, not as a breach, but as a phenomenon. "You are disruptive," he murmured. "Your existence fractures symmetry. Your will fractures design." Raika spoke gently. Maybe the design wasn't complete. The symbols across the keeper's chest shifted, like ripples in dark water. "Then you would speak a new one into being?" "I would live it," Raika said. "And existing is enough to rewrite a universe." The wind surged. A shock wave rippled outward. Grass flattened. Stones rolled. The sky itself shifted hue. Raika's aura expanded further, swirling into a sphere of silver-violet light that wrapped around her like embryonic power deciding its own form. The keeper raised a hand, not aggressive, but in an ancient gesture of assessment. "Your divergence is absolute. Your resonance is severed. You stand alone in a pathless existence." Raika nodded. "Good. Now it's mine. And if your choice unbalances the whole, then I learn to hold the weight." The keeper considered this for a long, motionless moment. Then, something no one expected happened. He bowed. Not deeply, not ceremonially, but enough that even Caulifla went silent. Goku froze, unsure whether to breathe. The keeper straightened. "Very well. If the universe must reshape around your defiance, then it shall begin with me." Raika blinked. What does that mean?" The keeper turned, robes whispering like shifting galaxies. "It means your fate is now yours, but you are not free of consequence." He paused. "You are its center." The wind swayed toward him as he spoke. "The warden will seek you. The paths will resist you. The timelines will strain beneath your singularity." He met Goku's eyes, then Caulifla's. "And those who love you will be tested." Raika swallowed. "Why warn me?" The keeper looked at her with that pale, unreadable light. "You are not an anomaly anymore." He stepped backward into the vertical tear in the sky, which closed behind him like an eyelid shutting. "You are precedent." The world exhaled. Raika's aura dimmed to a soft glow. Goku finally reached her, pulling her into a trembling embrace. Caulifla wrapped her arms around both of them, voice cracking. "You scared the hell out of us." Raika buried her face in their shoulders. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Goku held her tighter. "No, you meant everything you needed to." Caulifla whispered into her hair. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Raika closed her eyes. And the universe, somewhere far above them, shifted its gaze toward the girl who chose her own fate. The world felt thinner after the keeper vanished, as if every atom was still trembling, unsure whether it should return to stillness or brace for another collapse. Even the stars above flickered at uneven rhythms, blinking like eyes that had seen something they weren't meant to witness. Raika's aura finally settled into a faint, soft pulse around her, like the afterglow of a storm that had chosen to sleep rather than die. Goku kept one arm around her shoulders, grounding her as her legs wobbled beneath the weight of everything she had just endured.
Caulifla brushed Raika's hair back, still breathing hard, her voice rough with the remnants of fear. "You shouldn't have had to take all that alone." Raika leaned into them, exhausted but present. "I wasn't alone. You were hurting," Caulifla said. "That's enough." Raika looked up, eyes still faintly glowing with that new undefined color. "But I'm still here. I didn't disappear. I didn't fracture." Goku gave a quiet, trembling laugh. "You did more than that. You scared an entity older than concepts." Caulifla smirked. "Not bad for our kid." But the wind shifted, cold, sharp, uneasy. Raika felt it first, a prickling along her spine, a distant thrum behind the mountains, a vibration in the earth like someone walking toward them, someone she had felt before, but never directly touched. She turned slowly. The horizon changed color. Dark red bled upward from the edge of the world, staining the night. Clouds twisted into a spiral. Lightning cracked silently through them, bending sideways like it obeyed a different set of rules. Goku tensed immediately. "Raika?" Raika's breath tightened. The keeper wasn't the only one who noticed. Caulifla squared her stance, aura sparking to life around her fists. "Let him come." But Raika shook her head. "No, this one isn't coming for all of us." Goku frowned. "What do you mean?" Raika swallowed. "Only I resonated. Only I refused. Only I broke the path. So the consequence," she pressed a hand to her chest, "belongs to me." The sky split. A long horizontal crack, dark red, glowing with the energy of collapsing timelines. The mountains trembled, rivers warped, birds scattered from the trees in silence. And then the crack widened. A figure stepped forward, not through reality, but through punishment, through something shaped not by creation, but by correction. He was taller than a Saiyan, but shorter than the keeper. His body was bound in jagged armor that looked forged from shattered universes. His eyes burned crimson, not with heat, but with accusation. His presence pressed down like guilt-given form. Raika whispered his name with dread. "The warden." Goku moved instantly, stepping in front of Raika. "You again." Caulifla cracked her knuckles. "Round two." But the warden did not look at them. He looked at Raika, directly, coldly, as if her existence were a crime he had been waiting centuries to prosecute. When he spoke, his voice was a low growl, like two timelines grinding against each other. "You refused the pull. You severed resonance. You defied consequence." Raika exhaled shakily. "I made a choice." The warden's aura surged, jagged, violent, red like a bleeding star. "You made an imbalance." Lightning spiraled downward, striking the ground behind him, without sound. Goku stepped forward, aura flaring gold. "If you want her, you go through all of us." The warden finally shifted his gaze to Goku, and for a moment the world warped around them, trees bending away, stones floating. "Your resistance is irrelevant." The warden's crimson eyes returned to Raika. "I do not permit your divergence." Raika's fists clenched. "I won't follow the path. I won't be dragged into some fate I didn't choose."
"Then you will be corrected." He raised his hand. Reality around it fractured like glass. Caulifla roared, charging forward, "You don't touch my daughter!" But she hit a wall of red energy midair and was thrown back like a leaf caught in a hurricane. Goku caught her before she shattered the ground.
Raika stepped forward. No. The warden paused. Her aura rose, slowly, steadily, not explosive, but resolute. A soft glow wrapped around her palms, the silver-violet mixing with that new undefined shade, the color of an identity not inherited, but forged. No, she repeated. You don't get to take what I decided. You don't get to fix what isn't broken. The warden's eyes narrowed. Your existence destabilizes the multiverse. Then let it shake. The warden lowered his hand. The ground trembled. The red crack in the sky pulsed, and he stepped forward, his shadow stretching across the clearing like a judgment. Then prove, he growled, that you deserve the path you stole. The air trembled. Goku moved to stand beside her, Caulifla too, but Raika took one step forward, alone. Her aura lit the night. I don't fight to prove anything. Her voice deepened, steadying. I fight because I am alive. A soft silver flame curled behind her, and because no one decides my fate but me. The warden whispered one word before launching forward, shattering the air. Very well. The clash was inevitable. Light against red, choice against consequence, freedom against correction. And Raika met him head-on. The world shattered around them the instant Raika met the warden's charge. Not literally. Trees still rooted, mountains still standing, but the experience of the world fractured. Sound tore away, color faded into pale streaks, gravity wavered, losing interest in consistency. The earth beneath Raika's feet rippled like water struck by a falling star. Their clash didn't explode outward, it collapsed inward, silent, crushing, absolute. The warden's palm struck Raika's forearm. A red shockwave rippled through her bones, echoing like a scream trapped behind stone. Raika countered with a burst of silver-violet ki, the impact bending the air around them into a warped ring. She slid back 3 steps, boots carving shallow trenches into the ground. But she did not fall. The warden tilted his head, just enough to signal surprise. You withstand a correction strike. Impossible. Raika's breath steadied. A strike isn't correction, it's intimidation. Goku and Caulifla watched, unable to interfere. Not because they were weak, but because the space around Raika and the warden bent into a closed sphere, sealing them in. Caulifla slammed her fists against the barrier. Break, damn you, break! The barrier didn't budge. Goku touched the warped air and recoiled. This isn't ki, it's causality. Inside the sphere, Raika's aura pulsed again. The undefined color at its heart brightened with a rhythm that wasn't divine, mortal, or cosmic. It was simply hers. The warden's voice rumbled like grinding stone. You reject order. Raika tightened her stance. Order that demands obedience deserves rejection. The warden blurred. Not speed, removal. He vanished from view and reappeared behind her, red claws of energy slashing downward. Raika ducked under the strike, sliding on one knee as sparks erupted overhead. She twisted, palms glowing, sending a wave of silver ki that bent around the barrier and crushed the dust beneath it. The warden crossed his arms, absorbing the blast effortlessly. Your will is misaligned. Raika gritted her teeth. No, yours is. She surged forward. Their fists met. This time, the blow created sound, a deep, resonant thunder that split the earth beneath them, sending dust spiraling upward in slow motion. Raika snarled as the warden's power pressed against her joints like iron restraints, but her aura flared. The undefined light surged. Raika's fist pushed forward another inch. The warden's eyes widened, crimson glow flickering. Goku's breath caught. She's pushing him back. Caulifla was smirked, pride sharp and bright. Of course she is. Inside the sphere, Raika broke the clash with a sudden feint, twisting behind the warden with instinct that didn't belong to any form she had learned. She drove her knee into his back. He staggered forward, a single step but colossal in meaning. He turned slowly, head lowering. You touched the forbidden. You should be unraveling, not growing.
Reika wiped blood from her mouth. Maybe the forbidden was just the untested. The warden's aura erupted, ripping the barrier wider. You are a threat to balance, a fracture given breath. Reika's aura answered, shimmering in triple shades. Then fix your balance. I'm not bending. The warden's expression for the first time shifted to anger. He struck. A red beam shot toward Reika, raw correction energy, the kind meant to erase possibilities themselves. Reika lifted her arms just in time. The beam hit. The world whitened. Goku slammed his palms against the barrier. Reika! Caulifla was screamed her name. Fight it! Inside the blinding light, Reika felt her ki tearing, her skin burning, her breath collapsing under the force. But she didn't fall. She didn't shatter. She remembered something the keeper said. You are not an anomaly anymore. You are precedent. And she answered it with everything she was. Reika roared. Her aura exploded, swallowing the beam, cracking the ground in a perfect circle around her. Silver, violet, and the new shade flared outward, slicing through the red torrent. The warden's attack buckled, then broke. Reika charged through the remnants, palms glowing with that undefined color, and slammed both hands into the warden's chest. The impact sent a shockwave that ruptured the barrier. Goku and Caulifla were thrown back, dust swirling around them. Inside the smoke, the warden skidded back across the fractured ground, armor cracking along the chest plate, red light leaking through the breaks. He looked at Reika. Not furious, not wounded, stunned. You destabilize correction itself. Reika steadied her breath, because your correction isn't truth. It's control. The warden's voice shook for the first time. No being, mortal or divine, has ever... Reika interrupted softly. I'm not either. I'm myself. The wind howled. The mountains groaned. The sky flickered between colors. The warden lowered his stance. Something primal ignited in his crimson eyes. Then I will decide whether your self deserves existence. Reika's eyes glowed brighter. Try me. The ground cracked. Air convulsed. They launched toward each other. Two forces. Correction and choice. Order and defiance. Fate and the one who refused it. The moment Reika and the warden collided again, the earth lost its shape. The sky folded. The mountains bowed. Time bent inward like a wounded animal curling to protect its heart.
Their clash wasn't a battle anymore. It was an argument between existence and rebellion, between everything that had ever been written and the first being who dared to erase a line. Reicha struck first, fist wrapped in the shimmering tricolored aura that now moved with rhythm, not chaos, like a pulse. Her punch cracked against the warden's armored forearm, and the impact rippled through his body with the sound like breaking stone. He countered with a sweeping arc of red energy, but Reicha twisted under it, sliding across the tilted ground as if her body instinctively adjusted to the universe's distortions. She flowed instead of fought, adapted instead of reacted. The warden snarled, "Unacceptable." He thrust out his palms, releasing a wave of correction, not ki, not heat, but removal. The air vanished, the sound vanished. Reika's thoughts flickered, not disappearing, but momentarily unanchored, as though her identity was being peeled layer by layer. She staggered, teeth clenched, eyes wide with panic. "Reika!" Goku shouted from beyond the broken barrier, voice muffled by the warped air. Caulifla pounded on the cracked sphere. "Baby, breathe, breathe!" She tried, but her breath didn't come. Because in this space, breath had been edited out, deleted, as if the warden were rewriting the rules of her existence. Her knees buckled, her vision darkened, her aura flickered, dimming under the suffocating force. The warden stepped closer, red light swirling around his hand, a gesture not of annihilation, but of correction, as if he meant to sculpt her back into the path she'd refused. Reika trembled violently, gasping soundlessly. Her fingers clawed at the ground. Her mind began to slip. She saw Jiren's broken will. She saw the Keeper's cold eyes. She saw 1,000 possible versions of herself, all shaking their heads, whispering for her to surrender. But then, through the choking silence, through the collapsing space, through the infinite pressure, a memory surfaced. Goku, smiling gently, hands on her shoulders. Your heartbeat is yours. No one can teach it. No one can take it. Caulifla, fierce and unyielding. If the universe pushes you, push back harder. That's a Saiyan thing. Her mother's laugh, her father's warmth, the feel of their arms around her just minutes ago, terrified but proud. Her breathing returned. Not because the warden allowed it, but because she forced it back. A spark lit inside her chest. Tiny, defiant, alive. Raika's aura flared. The suffocating sphere cracked at her feet. Air rushed in all at once. Raika's lungs filled with fire. The warden stopped mid-motion, eyes narrowing. Raika rose slowly, hair drifting around her face, eyes bright as stars burning through a storm. I told you, she said, voice hoarse but steady. I exist. The warden slammed both palms forward. A vortex of red correction spiraled toward her, but Raika didn't dodge. She stepped into it, and the tri-colored aura wrapped around her like armor forged from identity itself. The vortex hit and shattered. The warden stumbled backward. Shock, real shock. His crimson eyes widened, the glow faltering. Raika advanced. With every step, the world stabilized, the ground flattening, the colors returning to the sky, the tearing wind calming.
She wasn't bending reality. She was anchoring it. Her aura resonated, not with possibility, but with presence. Not destiny, not defiance. Self. The warden roared, fury ripping through the clearing. You corrupt the lattice! Raika lifted her palm. You mistake corruption for change. Her aura condensed into a sphere of soft, luminescent light, no bigger than her hand, but pulsing with the weight of her entire choice, her entire existence. She thrust it forward. The sphere struck the warden in the chest, not violently, but decisively. A soundless shock wave burst outward. The warden's armor cracked further. Red light sputtered. His footing faltered. He dropped to one knee, breath ragged. And Raika whispered, not in triumph, but in truth. You don't get to decide if I deserve to live my life. She stepped closer. You don't get to measure me. The warden lifted his head, trembling with fury and disbelief. Raika's aura lifted around her like a rising dawn. You don't get to correct me. The earth hummed. The sky trembled. The tricolored light wrapped around her, becoming a mantle of pure identity. Not a form, not a power-up, a statement. The warden rose slowly, red cracks spreading through his armor. For this rebellion, his voice shook like a collapsing structure, you will face consequence beyond imagination. Raika stared back, unyielding. So be it. They launched toward each other again, the warden with the fury of worlds, Raika with the quiet power of a single chosen life, and the collision lit the sky. The sky detonated in white. Not ki, not divine power, not anything the universe had a name for. It was the light of a single decision meeting the force designed to erase it. Raika and the warden collided midair, suspended above the fractured clearing. The impact bent the night sky backward, stars warping into spirals, constellations trembling as if they recognized something ancient breaking free. The warden struck with precision meant to enforce inevitability. Raika struck with instinct meant to secure freedom. Their fists met.
The air shrieked. Reality flinched. Raika's aura flared, forming a shock wave that rolled across the ground in concentric circles, soft silver, fierce violet, and the third tone glowing like the birth of a star. The warden's correction energy wrapped around his body, claws of red tearing space into jagged ribbons. "You threaten the foundations!" he snarled, driving a punch toward her ribs. Raika twisted, catching his arm with both hands. The force still sent her skidding back across the air, boots grinding sparks from thin air itself. Her teeth clenched, her body trembled. But she did not yield. The foundations were built wrong. Not my fault if they crack. The warden's aura erupted. "Arrogant child!" Reicha charged again, cutting him off. Their bodies blurred. Not just from speed, but from disagreement. Two principles refusing to coexist. Goku stared from below, unable to hide the awe or terror in his eyes. She's fighting on a level I can't sense properly. Caulifla shook her head, voice thick with emotion. She's rewriting the rules while fighting inside them. That's Raika. Above them, the warden swung a crushing downward strike. Raika crossed her forearms, blocking it, but the blow forced her down, knees buckling mid-air. She gasped as a ribbon of red carved across her shoulder. Her aura flickered. The warden pressed in, relentless. "You do not comprehend what you invoke. A refused destiny demands revision." She steadied her stance, eyes sharp despite the pain. "Then revise yourself. I'm not moving." The warden's eyes burned deeper crimson. "You are a fracture."
Raika took a breath, and then, softly, without fear, "I'm a choice." She surged upward, smashing her forehead into his. The warden staggered. Just a fraction, but it was enough. Raika spun, heel cutting through the air and a perfect arc. Her kick cracked against his jaw, sending a burst of red shards flying from his armor. The warden recovered instantly, but Raika was already in front of him. Her fists blurred into spirals of tricolored light, striking his chest plate, shoulders, ribs, each blow ringing like a bell struck with intent. The armor splintered further. A sound escaped the warden's throat. Not pain, not rage. Recognition. You wield resonance without obedience. You shape power without lineage. You channel fate without surrender. That is not possible. Raika's aura swirled violently, sparks falling like burning petals around her. "I'm not proving anything. I'm just refusing to be pushed." The warden raised one hand. Reality twisted into a spear of red light, a weapon forged from the rules of existence itself. He hurled it. Raika didn't block. She stepped sidewise, into a place that shouldn't exist, a sliver of space between moments, and the spear passed through the empty second behind her. The warden froze. "What did you just—" Raika didn't give him time to finish. She drove her fist into his chest. The world convulsed. A massive ring of silver-violet light erupted outward, flattening the trees below, shaking the mountain ridge, sending waves through the clouds. The warden was thrown back, his body crashing into the sky itself, leaving cracks of red lightning webbing across the heavens. He dropped, landing on one knee, breathing heavily. Armor ruined, corrections faltering, eyes dimming. Stunned. Raika fluttered before him, aura crackling like a newborn star trying to decide its color. She looked down at the being who once terrified her. This isn't about fate. It never was. The warden lifted his cracked mask. Then, what drives you? Raika's aura voice trembled, not with fear, but with truth. I want to live my life, not someone else's idea of it. The warden's body shook, not from damage, from something like disbelief.
or understanding he wished he didn't have. You defy the lattice. Raika's aura flickered in a steady rhythm. I define myself. The warden's gaze sharpened. Then the path itself will come for you. Every erased destiny, every vortex of possibility, every consequence the keeper refused to impose. Raika didn't flinch. I know. She looked over her shoulder at her parents, her anchors. And I won't run. The warden slowly rose to his feet, body trembling. Red shards fell from him like dying embers. This battle is not finished. Raika nodded once. Then come back when you're ready. The warden's eyes dimmed to a deeper red, an omen, a warning. But beneath the fury was something else. Respect. Unwilling. Unspoken. Real. He stepped backwards into a tearing red fissure, his voice echoing like a verdict. You have chosen. Now face what your choice awakens. The fissure collapsed. Silence swallowed the night. Raika floated in the air for a moment longer, panting, trembling, glowing. And then her aura finally broke.
She collapsed. Goku blurred instantly upward, catching her before she hit the ground. Caulifla ran to them, voice cracking. Is she? Raika opened her eyes. Barely. Exhausted. But alive. And she whispered with a faint, weary smile. I held my path. Caulifla sobbed into her hair. Yeah, you did. Goku held them both, tears streaking down his face. We're here. But the sky above them still trembled. Far away, in places no mortal could see, a new power stirred, awakened by Raika's refusal, hungry, ancient, aware. The battle was won, the consequence had only begun. Night returned slowly, as if afraid to disturb the girl who had just rewritten her own existence. The broken clouds drifted aside, the stars blinked awake one by one, uncertain, shy, children watching the aftermath of a storm that had spared them by choice rather than mercy. Wind moved again through the trees, brushing the grass where Raika had fallen, carrying the tremble of her exhausted breath into the quiet world she loved. Goku held her gently, as if she were made of light instead of bone. Caulifla whispered to her over and over, words meant not for reassurance, but gratitude. Their auras dimmed together, fading into the night like three notes of a single chord finally allowed to rest. Above them, the heavens shifted. Not violently, not fearfully, but with recognition. A new light pulsed somewhere beyond sight, a quiet pulse, a faint ripple, a promise that a choice once made cannot be unmade. Raika breathed in, a soft, steady inhale against her father's chest. She had been measured, she had been weighed, she had stood, and the scales broke before she did. A path collapsed behind her, another rose beneath her feet, one she had carved through will instead of prophecy. The warden had retreated, the keeper had bowed, the timelines had trembled, yet here, in this fragile clearing between worlds, Raika existed exactly as she chose to be. Not anomaly, not weapon, not destiny, only herself. And for the first time since the stars learned to burn, the universe found itself wondering whether fate was a law at all, or merely a suggestion whispered to those too afraid to answer back. Raika closed her eyes. The night held its breath, and somewhere deep in the fabric of reality, a single truth began to glow. A fate chosen freely is the only fate that can never be corrected.